Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching second and final part of What If Naruto meets Kushina during Land of Wave arc. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
15 minutes later at Training Ground 7 as she waited for her team to arrive. Sakura was absorbed in her thoughts while sitting at the base of a tree close to the training ground's entrance. She was still stunned by what she had been told the night before and was still in disbelief at her own reaction. Flashback Haruno residence 12 hours prior. Sakura said, "You wanted to see Mika-chan," to her mother. "Yes, Sakura-chan, there is, and none of it will be things you want to hear," her mother stated to her. "Tell me, dear, how much do you know about your teammate, Naruto Uzumaki?" "Not much. While we were in the academy I did like you instructed and avoided him as much as possible. I spent most of my time following your wishes that I try to endear myself to Sasuke-kun while we were in the academy, and up until recently he was a loud, obnoxious baka, who was constantly trying to win my affections. As far as we knew he was an orphan with no clan unlike Sasuke-kun. Before we went to Wave I'd say he was a loser who would never change. Now though he's different." Sakura was unable to clarify how Naruto had evolved. "What happened during your mission that changed him, Sakura-chan?" was the query. "After we fought Zabuza the first time, we started to train heavily. He often left on his own after the team trained together to keep at it. His chakra control stunk and he was holding us back. One day he disappeared all night long, and when he came back, he was different. He had less problems with his control than before, and he was calmer, more sure of himself. During our second battle with Zabuza and his partner Haku, he managed to save Sasuke-kun. Then this red-haired woman got involved and made Zabuza switch sides against Gato, the guy who had hired him. She claims to be his mother and said her name is," Sakura continued after her mother finished. "Kushina Uzumaki. Yes, she is the bastard's mother. It gets worse though. Turns out he really is a demon, or at least holds one, and he has the luck of the devil no less," complained her mother. "What do you mean? Why do you and the other adults hate him so much?" "I mean, yeah, he's a baka, but still," Sakura said. "Until now we were forbidden by law from telling you kids the truth, but now the Hokage plans to reveal it to everyone tomorrow on the night of the Kyuubi's attack on Konoha. It wasn't killed. That monster is made of pure chakra, so it can't really die. Instead it was sealed into a newborn baby," her mom clarified. Sakura said, "Naruto, so he's a..." Her mother began to continue, but Sakura interrupted, saying, "Yes, he's the demon. No, if what you said is true, he's not the demon. He's the jailer for the demon. This entire time he's been protecting the village as a Jinchuriki. He keeps the monster from returning to destroy the village. But if you and the others on the civilian council knew this, why would you treat him as a monster?" her mother responded in disbelief. "Sakura, you're too smart for your own good. We needed someone to blame for all we lost, and there was a perfect target. We all knew what he carried. What better way to have our revenge on the monster than by making its life a living hell? How the hell were we supposed to know he still had family alive? Not to mention who his family was. For all we knew, the Yondaime just grabbed a brat from the orphanage to do the deed with. No one could have guessed he'd use his own son. Now his bitch of a mother is back and everything we've done has gone to hell in a handbasket. We never should have listened to Danzo," her mom complained. When Sakura told her, "It's your own damn fault. Yours and the rest of the council. How could you use me to do this to him? Do you have any idea what could have happened if he really was the demon? Do you have any idea what you could have unleashed? If he had lost control or been killed, you idiots would have released the Kyuubi itself into the village. How stupid are you?" Her mother yelled at her, "How dare you? You weren't there. You have no right to judge." It was unbelievable to her that Sakura would respond in this manner. "I dare. Bekasu, I believed everything you told me. Treated one of my own team members as though he was trash because that's what you wanted me to believe. You and all the fools in this village WHO couldn't see the difference between the kunai and the scroll that contains it. And to hear you bitch because all your plans were ruined now that his family has returned. He's not the monster you are." Sakura broke down in tears, rage over being deceived as well, over being used to hurt someone who had done nothing wrong, who only committed the crime of surviving and defending the village. Her mother yelled angrily, "You call me a monster? If it wasn't for me and my connections to Danzo, you wouldn't even be alive." Sakura said, "What the hell is that supposed to mean? You know what? I don't care. I'm leaving. I can't stay somewhere with a monster like you. Goodbye." Before gathering her belongings and starting to leave, her mother was standing in the living room, speechless, unable to comprehend that her own daughter was abandoning her. "You walk out that door and you'll never be welcome here again. I swear it. I'll let everyone know you're a demon-loving whore," she yelled to Sakura. Sakura paused and turned to face her mother with sympathy rather than incredulity or rage. "Say what you want, to whomever you think will listen. It's sad. You and all the rest of the council revered the Yondaime Hokage, but treat the man's son as an outcast. You've used my generation as a weapon against Naruto, and now all your lies are about to be revealed. I pity you. Cause and pity because you've fallen so low that you can't even see the truth right in front of you. Sakura said with a calm demeanor that shocked her as she left the room. Flashback termination. Following her altercation with her mother, Sakura had gone to the Yamanka compound, the only location that came to mind. Both Ino and her father Inoichi informed her that her mother had been honest with her about Naruto's burden and his ancestry. Sakura and Ino were shocked by how the civilians had treated him, and Ino asked her father why they hadn't taken Naruto in themselves. Inoichi explained that the Hokage had denied the clans from adopting him as it could have led to a small clan war with each clan attempting to gain control of the village's Jinchuriki. It made tragic sense in a political context. Sakura had been granted permission by Ino to remain with her for as long as needed. After listening to what Sakura had been told, Inoichi noted that he would further investigate Elder Haruno's recollections to ascertain how the woman had behaved in bed with Danzo. Sakura was so absorbed in her thoughts that she failed to notice Naruto, Sasuke, and Kushina had reached the training ground. Naruto questioned Kushina, "Don't you think Ka-chan? Someone seems a little lost in thought?" "Yes, she does. I suppose that means her mother followed the Hokage's instructions. After all, I guess we should see how this plays out, but there are a few things you boys don't know about your teammate that I need to discuss with her alone," Kushina stated to the boys. "Wake up, Pinky," Sakura exclaimed, startled, and looked at the person who had captured her interest. Kushina questioned her, "Has Kaka-chan arrived yet?" Sakura said, "No, he hasn't, Kushina-sama," before realizing she was at a loss for words. After noticing the girl's difficulties, Kushina said, "Why don't you start from the beginning? I take it you've had a rough night. Oh, and drop the sama crap. It's either Kushina, Kushina-chan, or Kushina-sensei." Sakura noticed the hint and said in a blushing tone, "Thank you, Kushina-sensei. You're right, it has been a very long night. Naruto-kun, I owe you an apology. Before you say anything, let me explain. For years I've abused you, physically and mentally. I treated you like you were the scum of the village, when this entire time you have been one of its staunchest defenders. I could use the excuse that I was following what my mother wanted me to do, but I won't. No matter what she told me, no matter what she instructed me to say and do, it was still me who treated you that way. What I've done to you is both horrible and unforgivable. All I can say is that from the bottom of my heart I'm sorry. If you want nothing more to do with me as a friend, or even as a teammate, I understand." After listening to her, Naruto understood that, despite his hurt feelings about the way he had been treated, Sakura was being truthful with him about her current opinion of him. "Sakura-chan, you're right about how you've treated me in the past, but the fact that you're willing to take responsibility for the actions you've done is a big step in the right direction. All I ever really wanted was to be your friend, but I have to ask what brought about the change. He couldn't just leave her like this, as much as he wanted to. I confronted her and walked out on her. I can't live the way she wanted, not now that I know the truth," Sakura explained, observing the reactions on the faces of her teammates and Kushina. "My mother, she blamed you, and Kushina-sensei for ruining the plans she had made. She showed in the manner that she revealed the truth of both your burden and your heritage, that she and those like her are the true monsters, not you. Kushina-sensei, if you were willing, I need to learn how to be a true kunoichi, and I can't think of a better teacher than you if you'll have me, that is." With the intention of frightening Sakura as much as possible, Kushina explained, "If you do this, there's no going back. I'll bring you to your limits, and force you to break past them. This will be the hardest training you'll ever do, and you might not even..." Sadly, Naruto had other ideas. "Oh, just accept her as a student already, Ka-chan. It's what you were planning to do anyways," Naruto stated to her. Kushina hurled a chakra chain at his head, forcing him to duck. "Hey, don't get pissy cuz I told the truth," she yelled back. "Don't get smart with me, brat," on him. "So much for having a little fun first, but my brat of a son is right. You've shown me that you're willing to face your past actions and accept responsibility for them. That means you're ready to learn what I can teach you, at least until your real sensei gets here," Kushina murmured. "Now's not the time. I'll tell you when you are ready, dear. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, where are you staying now?" Kushina interrupted Sakura as she was about to ask what she meant after glancing at her in confusion. "At the Yamanka compound with my friend Ino," Sakura informed her. Kushina said, "Naruto, it's your call, brat," to her son. "Why not? It'll give Haku someone to bond with her own age, plus we might actually bond as a team," Naruto replied to Kushina. Sasuke fought the impulse to sag. He was praying inwardly to everything that was even slightly holy and, just to be safe, a few unholy things as well. "Please let her be improving for real," he said. "I couldn't stand it if I had to live with a fangirl." "Naruto, what are you discussing?" Sakura questioned him. "What he's saying, Sakura, is that you'll be staying with us," says Kushina. "You mean Naruto and yourself?" Sakura inquired, still perplexed by the situation. "No, you're not aware yet. In addition to Naru-kun and myself, Haku and Sasuke-kun reside in the Namikaze house. You will be gathering your belongings and joining us after the Hokage's announcement because there is more than enough space for you, as well as Sakura tried to understand why Sasuke was staying with the Uzumaki family. Kushina explained, I like to have my students close at hand. Sasuke is staying with us because unbeknownst to him, I was named his godmother when he was born, and I'll be damned if I'm letting him stay in that haunted compound by himself, Kushina said, anticipating Sakura's question about Sasuke and answering it before she could. Furthermore, it's only until his mother is well again. Kushina chuckled at Sakura's expression of complete shock before glancing up at the young teen from the tree. Let's go. Kaka-kun, we don't have all day for you to hide in the tree. We have to make the announcement at the Hokage Tower. Please don't let me take you there. Ma, I'm coming, Kushina-chan, Kakashi said, appearing beside Sakura with his book open and hardly glancing at anything else. Sasuke was taken aback to see him, but Naruto simply nodded as if he had known where Kakashi was all along, a shadow clone. But then where is the original? Kakashi thought to himself before he felt a tap on his shoulder. Next page please, Naruto said to him while he was standing behind his sensei. Before he heard Kushina laughing, Kakashi's only thought was, I never even knew he was there. As the group made their way to the Hokage Tower and what would turn out to be an extremely fascinating spectacle, Kushina commanded, quit showing off, brat, and let's get moving. An hour later, Hokage Tower. Well, it's crunch time, Kushina, Hiruzen Sarutobi said, surveying the assembled villagers in the square before returning to his office to face his newest visitors. Do you and Naruto really want to do this? You didn't do this in the first place because Minato and I were dead. Well, he is and I was believed to be. For the final time, old man Kushina was sick of telling the old man this over and over again. It's time those fools learned the truth. Killing them now does no good, even though they may be idiots and have made my life miserable. Remember the rules. Ka-chan, they simply perceive us as monsters as a result. As he reaffirmed the rules for his mother, Naruto said, that would be counterproductive at this point. Hiruzen listened to their conversation and wondered, when did Naruto become so mature? Before coming up with a new idea, Kushina grumbled, sure brat, take all the fun out of it, why don't ya? Hopefully, the sheer shock of the truth will kill the worst of them. After giving it some thought, Hiruzen added, is it sad that I genuinely agree with her? Naruto, Kushina, Kurama, and the Anbu posted in the room all responded with, no, yes, no, which made everyone laugh. Okay, let's get this over with, the Hokage said as he emerged onto the balcony, where he saw everyone. Time to see the ants scurry away. Scratch that, the ones who have done us the most harm will likely scurry away like the Raashas they are. Kurama joked to Naruto, making the young Jinchuriki laugh as well. Kushina curiously glanced at him and heard him say, inside joke Ka-chan. As they both smiled at the pun, the Hokage started speaking to the village. I'm here today, Konoha residents, to discuss a serious issue. He held up a scroll and a kunai and asked the audience, before I continue, I have a question for all of you. What is the difference between these two items? Yes, Hinata-san, he said to the young woman Kunoichi who had raised her hands. The scroll contains the kunai, which is a weapon that we can use against our enemies, but it prevents it from being used. The kunai poses no threat to anyone while in the scroll, she replied. Excellent, it appears that you took your father's teachings to heart. He addressed the crowd, many of whom were unable to look at him in embarrassment, saying, yes, she is right. The kunai is the weapon and the scroll is the container. Why am I asking this question? Some of you ask, but it's easy. There is a young man among us who was given a heavy burden and the responsibility to defend our village with his life on the day of his birth. He has performed this mission with little to no gratitude and has encountered numerous challenges that many of you present have put in his way. For many years I have seen many of you mistreat this young man. The fact that many of the civilians were now staring at the ground rather than the Hokage infuriated him. Look at me, not at the ground. Some of you have beaten him, others have robbed him, and many of you merchants have either overcharged him heavily for common goods, or driven him from your businesses altogether. Before he could continue, he felt a hand on his shoulder. Turning around, he saw Kushina shaking her head at him, telling him to keep his cool. He nodded at her and continued, the Kyuubi no Kitsune attacked our village 13 years ago. The creature killed many people during its rampage before the Yondaime Hokage stopped it. The demon was slain that night, according to many of our younger generation, but the reality is never that straightforward. Being a being of pure chakra, the Kyuubi is immortal. The Yondaime made an even bigger sacrifice than you all knew on the night of its attack because he was aware of this. A member of a particular clan, the Uzumaki clan, specifically, has had the Kyuubi sealed within them since the village's founding. Only a member of the Uzumaki clan is able to successfully contain the Kyuubi due to its strength and incredibly large chakra capacity. The first was Lady Mito Uzumaki herself, the wife of the Shodai Hokage, and the second was Kushina Uzumaki, who was believed to be the sole surviving member of the Uzumaki clan following the death of Uzu. Kushina then faced the audience on the balcony, many of whom were shocked to discover she had been a Jinchuriki. After giving her a nod, the Hokage went on, "These two courageous women protected this village for many years without any of you being aware of it. Unfortunately, an enemy took advantage of what should have been a joyous occasion to launch an attack 13 years ago. Let me clarify. A Jinchuriki's seal only becomes weaker after giving birth or dying. A man who had discovered Kushina's burden took advantage of her weak seal, took the Kyuubi from her, and unleashed it on Konoha while she was giving birth to her son. After the Yondaime successfully repelled the enemy's attack, Kushina almost succeeded in resealing the Kyuubi in the only viable contender, his own son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Being an honorable man, Minato understood that he could not put this strain on another person's family when his own was the better choice. All he wanted was for his son to be remembered as a hero for his sacrifice. No, this is not what was done. Rather, the village's protector was turned against it by the civilian council. Naruto was unaware of his burden for 12 years until he was told by a traitor. He had the opportunity to turn against those who had tormented him over the years, but he chose not to. Though he was unaware of it, he remained loyal to himself and paid tribute to his father by dedicating his life to defending this village. He discovered just a month ago that his family was still there, that his mother Kushina had returned, and that she had exacted revenge on Danzo Shimura, the mastermind behind the scheme to turn her son into a mindless weapon for his own purposes. By his actions, he had betrayed this village, and his life was the price he paid. Now, a lot of you feel guilty about what you did, and a lot of your kids look down on you because of what you taught them instead of pursuing revenge. Naruto has simply decided that everyone should know the truth. Therefore, look at the person you treated with disdain and contempt, and he still chooses to protect you. I present to you Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the protector of Konoha, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, and son of Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze and Minato Namikaze." He only heard Kurama say, "Time to face the music, kid. Good luck." At this point, Naruto walked out to the balcony and stood with his mother, expecting to hear cries of protest and calls for the demon brat's death, but he was caught off guard by what the Hyuga sisters, Hinata and Hanabi, started doing. Clapping together, followed by the Hokage Konohamaru's grandson and his friends, as well as the rest of the Rookie Nine. He was surprised to see tears streaming down his face, but they were tears of joy, as he felt, for the first time, the acceptance of those he had fought for his life to protect. He knew that not all of them saw him as a hero, and some still hated him, but many more saw the truth and accepted it, and from this point on, he knew, everything would change. It has been 24 hours since the announcement of both Naruto's lineage and of his burden. Since that time there had been an influx of villagers approaching him to apologize for their previous actions. Many of them were sincere and admitted that their actions towards him were influenced by loved ones that had been lost when Kurama attacked the village all those years ago. There were those who admitted they had been pressured by members of the civilian council. Councilwoman Haruno's name came up repeatedly. Their admissions to Naruto and Kushina led to the arrest of the councilwoman, much the elder Haruno's dismay. To say that all the villagers had a change of heart would have been nice, but there were some who, even when slapped in the face with the truth, refused to believe Naruto was anything but the demon brat. Among those die-hards were the Hyuga elders. The way they had been humbled and humiliated by Kushina Uzumaki was something they could not stand. Therefore a plan had been made with regards to the nephew of Hiyashi, Neji. They would use the last link Hiyashi had to his late brother as the tool to brand his eldest daughter and teach the foolish clan head that they were not to be trifled with. As Team 9 approached the village, the elders intercepted them. They informed Guy, John and Mateo, "We must bring Gen and Hyuga along." "What do you need from my young pupil, Yash?" Guy questioned them. The leader responded, "That is a matter of clan privacy. He has been requested to be trained by us for a mission for the clan head," and handed over a scroll that described the mission. Guy could have seen that it was forged if he had looked closely, but he had no reason to be suspicious of the Hyuga elders. "Neji, we will continue on to the village to give our report. I will leave you with the elders so you may begin your training," Guy stated to Neji. "I expect you to do your best to complete this mission." He was finally going to escape his crazy sensei and the dreaded sunset of youth. "Hi sensei, honorable elders, I am yours to command," Neji said with a tinge of relief as he watched his team depart for Konoha. "Honorable elders, may I ask what this mission will entail?" "Young Neji, you will be protecting the honor of the Hyuga family from a mistake made long ago," Kono said, grinning at Neji. Hiyashi's now deceased wife erred by bearing the feeble Hyuga clan heir before she was even born. Just as Hinata is a bad choice to be the clan's heir, we elders have determined that the match is a bad one. As a matter of honor, you will confront the idiot who is supposed to marry her and defeat him. Voiding the agreement, Kono watched his tool's face with delight as he said, once you have defeated him, your seal will be removed and you will be named the new heir. He had hoped that the prospect of having the seal removed would be enough to motivate the poor fool, but he was unaware that there was no way to do so and that he would be dead after fulfilling his duty. Tell me, honorable elder, who is it I must beat? Neji said to Kono, looking slightly pleased. They finally see how valuable I am and how weak that stupid girl is. It doesn't matter who I have to face. I will crush them and take my rightful place. His face brightened when he heard the name. As he led Neji to the secret training grounds they would be using for preparation, Kono said with sadistic delight, Naruto Uzumaki is the fool you must face, and with our training you will crush. Now you will learn to wield the true strength of the Hyuga clan. Because he had neglected to return the forged scroll, Kono had no idea that his plan was being anticipated and that things would be more complicated than he had initially believed. Half an hour later, Hokage Tower, when Team 9 arrived without Neji, Hiyashi looked up from his meeting with the Hokage guy, saw him before he could comment, saying, Ah, Hyuga-sama, you'll be happy to know young Neji has begun training for the mission you needed him for. What mission? I was waiting here for my nephew to tell him about the announcement he missed earlier today. Please let me know where Neji is. They made their move sooner than I expected. I at least thought they'd wait until after he gave their report, but this could work in my favor, he said, frightened that Guy already knew the answer. This is a very serious offense, but the Hyuga elders, they had a mission scroll from you and said they were ordered to take Neji for training, Guy said, bewildered by his current predicament. Surely they wouldn't have lied to me. The Hokage intervened at this point, asking, Guy, do you still have the mission scroll? He was completely prepared for the scroll to have been taken back and never be found again, but to his surprise, Guy produced it. Surely they can't be that foolish as to leave evidence, thought both Hiyashi and the Hokage simultaneously. The scroll appeared authentic until they got to the bottom, where Hiyashi saw that the signature was the Hyuga family crest, and he made the decision to explain how Guy had been duped. Guy-san, the Hyuga clan operates in this manner. If this had been a valid mission at my request, I would have personally signed it. I wouldn't expect you to be aware of this fact. Since you are not a member of our clan, you are in possession of a falsified document that the clan elders used to try and use my own nephew against me. I apologize for the elders' actions, Hokage-sama, and I promise that they will face consequences, he said to the Hokage. They will, in fact, Hiyashi, but you won't do it. No, don't. This has gotten out of hand, and we have concrete proof that they plotted to kidnap one of my ninjas for their own purposes, which was treasonous of them and against your clan as well as the village. To put it briefly, Hiyashi-san, you will have to find elders to take their place. He informed the stunned clan head that they would be put to death for treason once Ibiki finished with them. How is my nephew doing? Since his Jonin sensei misauthenticated the mission, Hiyashi asked, concerned that Neji would suffer consequences, knowing that he would comply with their orders. Guy-san, did Neji see the scroll himself? Tell me the truth, Hiruzen said after giving it some thought. On my honor, Hokage-sama, Neji did not view the scroll. If he had, he probably would have concluded that it was a fake document. I will, because of my failure, he began, but the Hokage interrupted him. That's sufficient. We'll move on for the time being and you can punish yourself later. He told Hiyashi, young Neji won't be held accountable for his actions, but I imagine Kushina will have prepared Naruto to face Neji by the time they face each other. Observing the bewildered expressions on Lee and Tenten's faces and the intense expression on Guy's face when he saw Kushina's name, he chose to go into further detail, saying, that's right, you just got back from your mission and weren't there for the announcements earlier today. I guess I'll have to tell you, but first, I have a question for you, Guy. What do you know about Naruto Uzumaki? This is for your students, not you. Tenten was the first to answer. I know him a little from his patronage of my father's weapons shop, and when he's joined us for taijutsu training. He works hard and is honest, but he can be a little loud and stubborn. He told me that his parents perished in the Kyuubi attack, leaving him an orphan, although I've heard a variety of rumors from the general public. Tu-san advised me to evaluate him based on his behavior in my immediate vicinity rather than the circulating rumors. Hokage-sama, he has visited our training area on occasion to get assistance with his accuracy and taijutsu. Lee's response was straightforward but somewhat surprising. Yash, he is a genius of hard work. Well, Tenten, Lee, I see neither of you harbor him any ill will, and I believe I need to have a talk with your father. Tenten, Hiruzen said, taking a moment to absorb the information. Nothing negative. I promise there were some while you were away changes. Guy, You will be especially pleased to learn that Naruto's true nature has been exposed. He smiled at the expression on Guy's face when he said the final line. I know you were never happy with what had been done regarding Naruto, much like Kakashi, and much like Kushina. Guy began. You mean Sensei is? Yes. Guy, 2 people were brought back by Team 7 from their mission in Wave. Hakuyuki and Kushina Uzumaki. The Hokage turned to face Lee and Tenten and said, I think you'll both be surprised to learn Naruto is no longer an orphan. I'll let her give you the details, but suffice to say your old sensei is alive and her return was a rather explosive one. He said this after noticing Guy's smile. That said, I suppose it's time your genin learned the truth, Guy-san. His mother is Kushina Uzumaki, whom I'm sure you know of as Tenten, and he belongs to the Uzumaki clan of Uzushiogakure. The Hokage went on. Not only is his mother Kushina Uzumaki, but his father was none other than Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage himself. Tenten could only nod, thinking that this couldn't get any more bizarre, but she was mistaken because of his burden and to shield him from his father's enemies. His parentage was concealed for his protection. What is Hokage-sama burdening? As Tenten struggled to comprehend that one of her friends was the son of one of her favorite people, Kushina Uzumaki, second only to Tsunade Senju of the Sannin, she asked him. Well, I guess I'll begin at the beginning, Naruto. It is untrue to say that the Kyuubi was killed 13 years ago by the Yondaime. Since the Kyuubi is actually a Biju, a being with pure chakra, they are unkillable. However, in some cases, they can be sealed inside a person. From 1 to 9, the Biju are ranked according to the number of tails. Since the Kyuubi has 9 tails and is the strongest of the Biju, only one clan, the Uzumaki clan, was able to successfully contain the beast. Mito Uzumaki, the Shadaime Hokage's wife, was the first to do so, followed by her niece Kushina Uzumaki. The third was born on the night of the attack 13 years ago. Naruto Uzumaki. He is what is known as a Jinchuriki, a human sacrifice. Tenten abruptly interrupted Hiruzen as she explained. It is because of his burden that many in the village have abused and mistreated young Naruto, foolishly believing that he is the demon. She yelled. Those idiots, can't they tell the difference between a kunai and the scroll that contains it? Before catching herself. Sorry Hokage-sama, she stammered, blushing at her stupid outburst. He grinned as he told Tenten, you don't have to apologize, young lady, because that's the exact reference I used when I told the village the truth this morning. I hope this won't become a habit, but... It was, no Hokage-sama, she replied. Well stated now, Guy-san. Kindly gather your team and go over the remaining information. As Guy escorted Team 9 out of the room, he said, after my meeting, I'll get your report on your mission. What are we going to do about our mutual problem, Hiyashi-san? As they started organizing the elders' punishment, Hiyashi began. Well, to start, I've explained to Kushina what I expected the elders to try. The following morning at 5 a.m., Uzumaki residence. Naruto Uzumaki, get your ass in gear. When Kushina threw a bucket of cold water at her son, the results were immediate. Naruto shouted, Sanuva, what the hell, Ka-san? As he bounded out of bed upon realizing that only the 2 of them were awake, he turned to face Kushina and asked, what's the big idea? Why are we the only ones up? Before he interrupted, Kushina began. Well, I suppose if you want your team to learn your new taijutsu and kenjutsu styles, I'm sure Sasuke would love to. This had been bothering him, so he said, not a chance in hell, but still I gotta ask, why have you been so nice to the Teme? To be honest, it's more out of compassion for what he endured. It's nearly as horrible as what you've gone through, but before you become envious, keep in mind that even though I might feel bad for the brat and try to help him, it would be nothing in comparison to what I would do for you. She ruffled his hair and said, after all, you are my only son. Let's move on to the training field so we can prepare you for Neji. Now enough of the mushy stuff. How terrible do you anticipate it to be? Naruto questioned her. Hiyashi has informed me that the elders will probably turn his pride against him. He has been told all his life that he is a prodigy and that he will be a handful if he is like his father. But you have the means to defeat him by reopening your Tenketsu. You can counteract Kurama's Juken strikes. Additionally, the Kaden can be countered by your Rasengan. Only the main branch is supposed to be aware of both techniques, but Hiyashi believes the elders will. As they headed to the training grounds at the compound, Kushina told Naruto, teach him both, and after the duel they will probably use the caged bird seal to destroy his mind. Why would they do that? Even though Neji is a bit of a conceited, fate-obsessed jerk, he doesn't deserve that. Is there anything we can do to stop them? Kushina was asked by Naruto. Well, I see you gained some of your father's morals, sympathy for the enemy for one, Kushina said, shaking her head as she laughed at Naruto. In any case, we can assist. It's time for me to tell you a clan secret. We can remove the caged bird seal since it was made by the Uzumaki clan. Why would we make something like that? Wait, we made that thing, Naruto inquired, perplexed by what he was discovering. Since the seal was designed to house prisoners during World War I, the Hyugas tainted it and applied it to their own family. I used to discuss it constantly with Hanabira. My biggest regret was that I couldn't take it off, and hers was that the elders insisted it be used on the branch family. I learned from your Gigi, however, that the Uzumaki clan can remove the seal, and I think it's time you learned how to create roughly 600 clones to begin with, 300 for Fuinjutsu practice, 100 for Kenjutsu, 100 for Taijutsu, and 100 for Ninjutsu. Naruto informed her, I have an idea for the Rasengan regarding that Ka-chan. I thought I told you to hold off on. No, I'm not going to add an element, but what if I could alter its size without weakening it? Then a method to make it a long-range assault. Well, you might be right. I'll have a few of my clones help. Tell you what, make it 200 clones for ninjutsu. As Naruto created the necessary clones and set to work, Kushina gave the order. In the meantime, I'll introduce you to the Uzumaki sealing arts. 5-element seal eraser, aka the way to remove the caged bird seal. 4 hours later, Training Ground 7. When Kakashi arrived, he found Sakura practicing the tree climbing exercise and Sasuke sparring with Naruto. Okay, let's start on our mission, Kakashi said to his team after they had all assembled and had spent 3 hours training with Kushina. After that, Naruto got to watch as Kushina woke up Sasuke and Sakura, giving them the same wake-up call he had to endure, much to their dismay. Kakashi merely glanced at Sasuke when Naruto asked, "What mission? We haven't even gone to the tower yet, how can we have a mission already?" "You haven't told him yet?" Kakashi inquired, a little irritated. As he searched for a solution, Sasuke remarked, with everything that happened yesterday I kinda forgot. You gotta admit, with everything that happened it's been hectic, Kakashi-sensei. "Tell me what Teme," Naruto said reluctantly, because he's writhing so much, whatever it is can't be good. Sasuke began, "Sakura, you think," but was shocked when she shook her head no. Sakura told him sharply, "You tell him, this is your mess, Sasuke," which was new to him because Sakura had always wanted to win his approval. He was told, "Out with it, Teme," by Naruto. He blurted out as quickly as he could, "Ah hell. Look, because I disobeyed a direct order we have to cater Tora for 2 weeks. Come on, Teme, I got the, you screwed up, part, but what else must we do?" But the reaction he received was not what he had anticipated. "Damn it, okay, for the next 2 weeks we kinda have direct orders to catch Tora," he said to Naruto. "Ah hell, here we go. Now for the yelling, not that I blame him this time." "That is a terrible thing." With an evil smile, he said to Sakura, "Hey Sakura, I don't know about you, but I think since he got us the mission he gets to do the capture." Sasuke paled at the thought. Her smile was an answer. "Fine with me. No way in hell I'm laying hands on that demon, no offense," she said. "None taken," he smiled and said, "Hey Fuzzy, is there a possibility that the cat you mentioned is related to the two-tailed one?" "Matabi?" Kurama responded with a laugh, "No such luck. Even though it's bad enough to be one of us, I can assure you that Hellcat isn't one of her offspring. Trust me, if you met one of those you'd still be running." Before he realized his team was looking at him expectantly, he responded, "Well hell? Kurama says that Tora isn't related to them, just that it's crazy enough to be," he said. "You mean there's a cat Biju?" "Hold on a second," Sakura asked him, utterly disregarding Naruto's ability to communicate with the Kyuubi, let alone its name. "Yeah, Matabi, the two-tailed cat. I guess before she was sealed she had a few litters that used to give everyone hell," he said. "All right, does anyone else think it's strange that he speaks to the Kyuubi?" Sasuke inquired. Kakashi smiled and said, In a word, yes," adding, "Anyway, let's get going. Tora isn't gonna catch himself." After 3 hours and several scratches, Naruto chuckled, "Damn Teme, you look like you got into a fight with a lawnmower and lost," he said. Sakura and Kakashi laughed as they walked to the Hokage Tower and encountered Team 8. "Laugh it up all you want. I swear this thing's a demon," Sasuke retorted, struggling to control the furious cat. "Hey, Hinata-chan, where are you going?" Naruto ran up to her and asked. Her response was, "The Hokage Tower to turn in our mission, Naruto-kun." Before she could say anything more, they all heard a pained shout and saw a blur as Tora escaped Sasuke. What nobody had anticipated was that Tora would leap on Hinata's shoulder as though he belonged there, and that whenever Sasuke tried to get the cat back, she would hiss and claw at him. Only Naruto was able to get close to Hinata, and that was only after a protracted stare-down that ended with Hinata grabbing Naruto's arm. "I think he likes me, Naruto-kun," she said, laughing as the purring Tora rubbed his head against her neck. "You're about the only one, Hina-chan," Naruto told her as he watched the strange scene. She grabbed his hand and brought it up to Tora, telling Naruto, "Here, let's see if he'll let you pet him." After a brief moment of tension, he let Naruto pet him, and Hinata triumphantly remarked, "See, he's a big softie." As the genin all laughed, Sasuke sulked, "Tell that to my face," and Kiba approached him in a whisper. "Dude, don't feel sorry for me. I swear the little demon was trying to kill me during our last mission for some reason. The little monster likes her, though we're not sure how she does it." Now this is new, Kakashi thought to himself, as Tora looked at the two teenagers and hissed loudly as if it could understand what was being said. Sasuke and Kiba both jumped and moved behind their respective senseis, who were both laughing, but they also saw Tora nod as the two boys moved away from him as if he could think. Though Team 7 was supposed to capture Tora and Team 8 was supposed to bring it to the tower, there was some confusion as to how the teams should proceed. To everyone's surprise, Tora himself ended the conversation by switching from Hinata's shoulder to Naruto's, but instead of being calm and gentle like he was with Hinata, Tora was alert and his tail was constantly twitching. Hinata teasingly said, "Looks like you made a new friend. He's more of an acquaintance than a friend, but it seems like he'll put up with me not expecting him to fall for the ruse." Naruto teased, "Hey Teme, if you ask really nicely, I might spare you some more beatings." However, Sasuke was fervently hoping that Tora would not punish him, saying, "Ramen my treat every day we have this mission." Naruto chose to twist the knife a bit more after observing the terror and desperation on his face. "If Hinata and I don't want ramen, do you also have to pay for what she wants?" "All right, just save me from that monster. I don't care." Naruto laughed even more as Tora rubbed his head against his face, seemingly accepting the terms. "Teme, it appears that Tora accepts the conditions of your surrender. You have an agreement. What should we eat for lunch, Hina-chan?" He smiled as he asked Hinata. "Cinnamon buns, and I know just the place," she said to her crush. Sasuke remarked, "Well, it can't be that bad," feeling relieved that he was not forced to eat ramen. He was in a good mood until Kiba leaned over and whispered, "Dude, Hinata eats those things like Naruto eats ramen." Sasuke's face became pale, and they could see him crying while holding his soon-to-be emptier wallet, but he would choose his wallet if it came to that. Naruto leaned over to Hinata after they had turned in their missions and been freed, whispering to her, "Hina-chan, do you think you can assist me with some training after we eat? Do you even need to ask if this means I get to spend more time with you?" She returned the whisper, which made Naruto chuckle. "I like her kit. Looks like you picked a winner, or rather Kushina did," Kurama said with a laugh as he expressed his thoughts to Naruto. "Calm down, you don't have to shove it in even though you're right." Kurama shot back, "I bet you wouldn't mind if she did the rubbing," and to the surprise of everyone around him, Naruto passed out and turned blood red, much to Kurama's endless amusement. "I still got it," he thought to himself as Hinata tried to wake him up, and 15 minutes later, to the confusion of everyone around him, Naruto finally woke up, muttering about Baka arrow foxes. 3 days later at this point, Naruto had finally adapted to his routine, which included training with Kushina in the morning, breakfast, catching Tora, which had become surprisingly easier for him, team training, during which Sakura and Sasuke had finally settled into their roles on the team, lunch, paid for by a crying Sasuke, and then training with Hinata. The first time she had visited, Kushina had stopped her because she was having trouble with her gentle fist katas, but she was surprised to discover that she had not one but two affinities, neither of which was earth. The second was a strong water affinity, which Kushina explained was similar to her mother, and a moderate wind affinity. The latter surprised Kushina, but she was currently working on ways to incorporate both elements into Hinata's gentle fist. Naruto was able to reduce the size of his Rasengan to the size of a marble that could fit on one finger with Hinata's assistance. He then had to learn how to make one for each finger, which was much more difficult than it appeared. Despite Hinata's assistance, he was only able to get 3 on each hand, which brought up the topic of today's discussion. As they relaxed beneath a big oak tree, Naruto moaned, "I don't see why I can't get all 5. During their time together, Hinata had conquered her shyness, which boosted her confidence, and they had also been able to learn more about one another, which was beneficial to Kushina. He was informed by Hinata that, "You technically have 6 at a time going, which is a big accomplishment. So, do you have any idea how you're going to defeat Neji Nisan? He will not fall easily." Although Naruto was certain that he could defeat Neji, he was concerned that he would not be able to break the seal. "Yeah, I know how tough he is, but I know I can beat him. I have to for both your sakes," Naruto replied. Hinata muttered, "But even if you beat him, he'll still be miserable, and there's the chance the elders will try to kill him when you win," without even realizing that she had switched the question from if to when. After discovering the teenagers sleeping, Kushina listened to Hinata's remarks and decided it was time to discuss the plan with her. If I told Hinata that we could prevent the elders from punishing Neji for losing, how would you respond? She questioned her prospective daughter-in-law. Really? I'm not sure where this conversation is going. So Hinata asked, but how? As long as he carries the seal they can kill him with a single sign. Kushina glanced at Naruto and nodded at him to explain. What if I told you, Hina-chan, that I could get the seal off of Neji? As Hinata's eyes widened, he inquired, are you aware of the seal's past usage by your clan? The caged bird seal was created by my clan to confine prisoners during the First Great War. A member of your clan learned how to do the seal and used it with the assistance of the clan elders of that time to take control. He added after Hinata shook her head. No, what the elders don't know is that the Uzumaki clan has a way to remove the seal in case it was ever used against them, and thanks to Ka-chan, I know how to do it. You mean? Began Hinata with a hint of nervousness. He said, yes, if I do it right I can remove the seal from Neji, but if I mess up it could kill him. With Ka-chan's help, I have seals holding all 5 elements. All I need to do is set the circle and activate it. The trick is making sure Neji is in the center when I do so. Even though he's a jerk, he doesn't deserve to die, so I have to time it perfectly. If anyone can pull it off, it's you, Naruto-kun. I know you can. Hinata, who knew she would be branded herself if Naruto didn't win, said confidently. I have faith that you'll pull this off. Her confidence lifted Naruto out of his funk, and he started to put all of his energy into his training to make sure he would defeat Neji. 3 days later, Uzumaki Mansion at 7 a.m. With the assistance of Hinata and Kushina, Naruto had devised a strategy for dealing with Neji. He was certain that he would succeed by mastering the seal eraser and learning how to open closed tenketsu with Hinata's assistance. With Hiashi's consent, Kushina had allowed Hinata to spend the night with the Uzumakis after they had discovered that Neji and the elders had been seen making their way to the village. The village had heard about the impending duel, and due to requests from both sides of the council, Hiashi had agreed to hold it in the arena for everyone to see. Little did the village know that it was also set up there to let everyone know that Hiruzen Sarutobi, also known as the god of the shinobi, was back and that those who opposed him would pay. Naruto went downstairs to find Kushina, Haku, Sakura, Hinata, and Sasuke waiting. Okay, what's up with the faces, people? Really, do you have that little faith in me? I thought you'd have learned by now not to underestimate me, he said, observing the worry on Sakura and Sasuke's faces. That isn't it, Sasuke stated. What's worrying us, Naruto, isn't about you. We just received word today that Tsunade and Jiraiya will arrive in 2 days, and we'll find out then if my Ka-chan will recover. Don't worry, Naru-kun, you'll do fine today, Kushina said with a smile as she turned to face Naruto. After we take care of the Hyugas, we'll worry about the other and stop whining. Sasuke Makoto will be alright. You should have some faith in her. She will get through this because the damned woman was obstinate enough to survive both Danzo and your baka of a father. Both Naru-kun and I are starving. So please, Hina-chan, go ahead and eat breakfast already. Hey, she's a guest. Why are you forcing her to cook, Ka-chan? Naruto complained to Kushina, a little irritated with her, while Hinata merely grinned at him. She told a placated Naruto, it was my idea, Naruto-kun. I wanted to make you a meal before we get going and I wouldn't take no for an answer when Kushina tried to stop me. Before Kushina grabbed his shoulder, Naruto attempted to ask, wait, you managed to butt. Just let it go, she said, jumping with delight inside. Hinata had shown in the Battle of Wills that morning that she was unquestionably ideal for her son, and she was not going to let this girl escape. As he made his way to the table, Naruto said, you know what? I'm not even gonna ask. Sasuke, who had seen not one but 2 tempers flare over who would make Naruto breakfast, was a little jealous and a little relieved that it wasn't over him. Dobi, you have no idea what you're in for. Kushina was much easier to rile up, but when the poor girl finally lost it, Hinata's outbursts actually exceeded hers. Observing Hinata's temper, he had concluded that Sakura was rather tame, though he had no intention of telling her that if only he knew where she got that temper from. Following breakfast, they traveled together to the arena, observing the villagers' reactions as they went by. While most were pleased to see the Uzumakis because the truth about Naruto had been acknowledged, some appeared irate, believing that the demon had corrupted not only the Hyuga clan's heir but also the Hokage himself, and that the Hyuga prodigy Neji would bring him to his demise. When they got to the arena, they saw that all of the civilian council members were there, including the heads of each clan. Naruto was shocked to see that 2 new members he actually knew were sitting in the council box. Tuchi Ichiraku and Tenten's father Kushina saw where he was looking and muttered, the old man wanted it to be a surprise. He decided that you could use a few friends on the civilian council. He smiled and waved to Tuchi before making his way to the arena floor, where the Hokage himself greeted him. Hey Gigi, no offense, but why are you here? The way Naruto addressed the Hokage left many in the crowd speechless, but they were even more taken aback when the Hokage laughed and ruffled his hair in response. You will never change, Naruto, but to answer your question, I am officiating this match because it pits clan heads against clan elders. Neji has been selected to champion the elders. And you are the champion for Hiyashi. I am the only person qualified to supervise this match, which will determine the destiny of the biggest and strongest clan in the village, Sarutobi informed Naruto. Admit it, Gigi, you just used this as an excuse to get out of doing paperwork, didn't you? Naruto said, leaning over so that only Hiruzen could hear him, smiling mischievously. Now, Naruto, that's just an added benefit, he half lied, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else for this. How the devil did he figure it out so quickly? The Hokage asked himself. Additionally, no outside interference can happen while I'm here, he returned the whisper. Okay, Gigi, whatever you say, just relax and take in the performance. When Naruto's opponent and the Hyuga elders finally showed up, they all seemed shocked to see the Hokage in the arena. I assure you that you will not believe what I have planned for poor Neji, Naruto said to him. Kono walked up with Neji and asked the Hokage, Hokage-sama, while I am honored you are here, I have to ask. Please move to the area reserved for you and your fellow elders. Kono, you are already on thin ice with me. I will be personally watching this game to make sure there aren't any outside influences, Hiruzen told the stunned elder. As he led the elders to a private box set aside for them, Kono swiftly signaled his personal guard to cancel the agent they had sent to poison Naruto when the match started, saying, this ruins everything. If he spots our trump card, we're finished, and why is he even here? Naruto turned to Neji and said, about time you got here, Neji. I was beginning to think you chickened out. Neji's face flushed red with rage, which made Naruto laugh even harder. They were all seated. I'll never understand how my worthless idiot of a cousin was ever engaged to a dead last loser like you who had no family, much less a clan. However, I'm destined to prevail here today and become the Hyuga clan's heir. I fight for the honor of my clan with the backing of my family, and today I erase the mistake made by Hinata's foolish mother, Neji said proudly. Little did he know that this was the worst thing he could have said for a number of reasons, including the fact that the insults to Hinata and her deceased mother caused 3 sets of killer intent in the crowd, directed not only at him but also at the clan elders, Hiyashi, Hinata, and Kushina. However, the worst part was when Naruto appeared enraged at Neji, who continued, once I am through with you I will finally take my rightful place, and my weakling cousin will be branded into hers, such as the fate of a weakling like her. Hokage-sama, please start this match so I can rip this arrogant bastard apart, he yelled. This match is to go until one competitor falls and cannot rise, is killed, or if the match is stopped by me, the Hokage said, stepping aside to give his adopted grandson a quick glance before turning to face Neji, who nodded that he was prepared as well. Hajime. In an attempt to quickly end the match, Neji rushed in at Naruto and struck him in the heart. Naruto did not block, and he appeared shocked by Neji's speed as he was hit point blank before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. Neji looked around in confusion, knowing that it couldn't have been a clone because he had seen his opponent's tenketsu points. Naruto reappeared behind him and laughed at Neji's bewilderment. He circled Neji and threw 5 different kunai at him, saying, hey genius, it's called a shadow clone. I thought the elders would have been smart enough to tell you I use them. Neji easily deflected the kunai and sneered at Naruto. No matter how hard you try, you won't be saved by your cheap tricks. I've said it before. Yes, you have already stated that you are destined to win, but let me tell you something. Fate is nothing more than what we choose to do, and I have no intention of losing to a teme like you. See, even they can tell you need it removed. Hell, I'll do you a favor and beat it out of ya. What do you say, Neji-chan? Ready to go? Naruto pushed. Kamai. I thought Sasuke was bad. The stick up your ass must be twice as big as his was, and was shocked to hear laughter from the stands. When Neji could take no more insults from Naruto, he charged in an attempt to breach his defenses, blocking several of Naruto's strikes before Naruto finally leapt back and launched 2 attacks. Water Release, Water Dragon Jutsu, Lightning Release, Lightning Ball Jutsu, Combination Attack, Charged Water Dragon Bomb. He yelled as the 2 attacks combined. The attack came with a loud boom that rocked the arena, and Neji was caught off guard by its speed and strength. He knew he had no choice but to shout, Kaden. His only defense, they saw Neji encircled by a sphere of energy and a sizable crater where the sphere ended. When the smoke cleared, his expression was one of surprise as he searched his surroundings for Naruto. Naruto pondered out loud, so the senile old codgers really did pull out all the stops, didn't they? When Neji turned to face the voice, he was met with a boot to the face. Naruto proceeded to knock Neji to the ground with a straight snap kick to his ribs and a right hook to the chin. Speaking as he walked up to the fallen Neji, Naruto said, So, not too bad for dead last, wouldn't you say? Neji said, "It's quite surprising, but I have something to tell you," as he slowly stood up. Naruto, "Oh, and what would that be, pray tell," said to him. Neji yelled, "You're within my field of divination, 8 trigrams 64 palms, as he set Naruto up for defeat. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms. Neji glanced at the Hokage after seeing Naruto fly away from his last blow, confident that he had won the fight. Neji remarked, "Hokage-sama, I think you may call the match. He will not be able to get up." He heard the words, "Think again, Teme," and turned in surprise to see Naruto standing up and the Tenketsu points he had closed reopening due to a powerful chakra surge. "But how? That's not possible. What manner of trick is this?" Neji asked. Naruto simply shook his head and employed his preferred jutsu once more. He yelled, "Shadow Clone Jutsu," and a dozen clones materialized. Neji, who could hardly protect himself from the continuous blows coming from several directions at once, was charged by 9. He was herded slowly to the scene of the fight. After becoming weary of the clones' incessant harassment, he made the decision to fight back, yelling, "Kaden!" The attack destroyed the clones around him, but he was unable to find Naruto, who had vanished once more. Where is he? Not above, behind, or to either side? He asked himself, looking around in frustration as the match had lasted longer than he had anticipated. "Watch and enjoy, Kakashi-sensei, this one's for you," Naruto thought as he bounded out from the ground behind Neji, seeing the bewilderment on his face and deciding to end the match right there. "Try below Teme," he yelled, positioning his fingers in the spot that Team 7 had identified. "He wouldn't? I've taught him well," Kakashi thought to himself, grinning, which only grew louder upon hearing the attack's name. Uzumaki's secret art, 8,000 years of death. As Naruto launched his attack, Kakashi noticed a tiny Rasengan at the tips of his cloned fingers. The clone yelled, 2000, and drove the blow directly into the Hyuga's ass, sending Neji flying into the air to meet another clone. The clone shouted, 4000, as Neji was propelled higher into the path of another clone by his mini Rasengan attack. Where the original waited with an oversized Rasengan, the clone yelled, 6000, sending Neji to his apex with another miniature Rasengan. Naruto yelled, 8,000 years of death Rasengan blast, as he struck Neji in the chest, sending him tumbling to the ground while he was enveloped in smoke. Naruto muttered his last maneuver, Uzumaki Sealing Arts, 5-element eraser. Neji was completely unconscious when the dust had settled enough for everyone to see the Hokage approach to see if Neji could go on, and when he saw the look on Neji's face, he turned to Naruto, who simply glanced at Kushina after giving a sympathetic nod. Hiruzen declared, "Winner Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." Naruto calmly informed the Hokage, "Just Uzumaki for now, please Hokage Gigi, I haven't earned the full name till I master his signature technique." He calmly said to Naruto, "If you say so, but I'm sure today you've earned the right," while the audience applauded. The Hokage whispered to Naruto, "Now for the fun part," before speaking to the assembly. "Now that this matter has been settled, there is another that needs addressing. I now speak to you, Kono Hyuga, and to the rest of the Hyuga elders. You have made a grave mistake, that being you forged documents to take one of my ninjas to use for your own purpose. You lied to his Jonin-sensei, and you betrayed not only your clan but this village. As such you will be interrogated then executed." Kono watched in disbelief at what he had heard. It couldn't be real, could it? "Hokage-sama, I have no idea what lies you have been." Hiruzen yelled, "Silence," to a cowering Kono who sensed the Hokage's killer intent. Kono halted when he realized the Hokage had identified the seal he was attempting to use, but he was unable to sense his chakra reacting to him. "You fools left plenty of evidence of your crime. Neji's ignorance of Naruto's true lineage, the scroll used to fool his sensei, and the fact that as I speak you are trying to kill young Neji. Hey dumbass, if you bothered to look at the area you're in you'd see that you are surrounded by chakra suppression seals. In other words, you can't do shit," Kushina said. "Kuchina-chan, if you please," Hiruzen politely requested. "Hi, old man," she responded in jest, "but you had to admit they had it coming." He continued by saying, "Indeed, however the fact remains they will never again be able to harm young Neji," as he spoke to the elders, who were now terrified and lost. As he yelled at the assembly, "All I need is one chance and your precious nephew is gone. Hiyashi, if not me one of my allies will do it for me. You can't protect him forever." Kono regained some of his courage. "Naruto, if you would please," the Hokage said to the youth. He said, "Once upon a time you'd be right, but it seems your arrogance is about to bite you in the ass yet again. Kono Baka, you see you failed to realize the caged bird seal was made not by your clan, but by mine. As the elders' faces lit up with fear, Naruto calmly explained to them, "That's right, the Uzumaki clan made the seal that you have corrupted, and anything we can make, we can remove," as Neji's face began to reveal itself, particularly his now bare forehead. Kono yelled, "This is an outrage," before the Anbu arrested him and brought the elders to see Ibiki. "No," Hiyashi said from where he stood among the clan chiefs, "it's righting a wrong you fools continued to perpetrate. No more shall the Hyuga clan be divided into main and branch. From this day forward we shall be one clan, one family." Hinata yelled, "Naruto-kun," and embraced him when Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, and the other rookie 9 emerged to join Naruto. The audience took notice and started cheering. "I don't know about you, but I could use a bowl of ramen and a week of sleep." Naruto blushed a little before turning to face his friends and family. "Oh Hokage Jiji, do me a favor when Neji wakes up, please tell him you're welcome. I think I might be better suited to tell him that as it is there are many things my nephew and I need to discuss," Hiyashi said. Approaching the group, "Naruto-sama, on behalf of the Hyuga clan, I thank you for all you have done, and would be honored for you to marry my daughter Hinata." Naruto said, "Please, Hiyashi-sama, it's just Naruto, and I would be honored to marry Hinata," to his prospective father-in-law. Now having said that, "Ka-chan guys, Hina-chan, let's head home." Omake. Hinata's Two Faces teams 7 and 8 followed Hinata to her favorite bakery after completing their missions. As promised, Sasuke was standing by to cover Naruto's and Hinata's meals. Hinata ordered 2 dozen cinnamon buns first. Naruto ordered a half dozen for himself because he expected as much, as Hiyashi had warned him. Sakura reached for one when their order arrived, assuming the 2 dozen were to be shared. This turned out to be a grave error. Before anyone could stop her, Sakura opened the box and discovered that her arm was no longer functional. Hinata pleaded with her, "Sakura, please leave my food alone." Both Naruto and Sasuke witnessed the attractive brunette's swift Juken strike that closed Sakura's hand Tenketsu, but Sakura had missed it. Naruto knew this was only a warning shot, but Sasuke was stunned as Kiba and Shino chuckled softly. He handed Sakura one of his buns and carried on with his meal. With the exception of Fate's sick sense of humor, everything would have turned out nicely. In this instance, the event happened while an extremely disinterested Anko was passing by. Knowing who Naruto was and how close he was to Hinata, Anko thought that playing with her idol's son would be a great way to kill boredom. If only she knew, there couldn't possibly be any problems with that plan. Unbeknownst to Naruto, a pair of arms encircled him and drew him into the chest of an odd, purple-haired woman with a lot of wealth. Since Naruto was too stunned to move, Anko's plan was going perfectly. "Ah, how sweet, the Gaki's got a girlfriend. Wonder if she'll share," she said, smiling until she heard a cool, collected voice next to her. Hinata calmly stated, "Not a girlfriend, a fiancé, and I'd appreciate if you let him go." Anko-san, sounding far more composed than she actually was since Kurenai was her team's Jonin sensei. She was aware of Anko's identity, but she couldn't understand why she would be humiliating Naruto in this way. In an attempt to gain favor with Hinata, Anko teased, well, looks like the princess is a little jealous. What's the matter? Afraid he'd like me more?" Hinata refused to take the bait and responded, "No, Anko-san is just worried that Kushina-sama might be offended by you harassing her son. I'd hate to be the one to break the news of your death to Kurenai-sensei." As Anko reached for one of Hinata's cinnamon buns, she was caught in a vice grip. "Well, princess, if you're gonna spoil my fun you're gonna have to pay the price, and I think this'll do nicely," she said. Hinata said icily, "I'm afraid that's not going to happen," as she emerged from the booth and stood next to Anko, who was attempting to break free from the young girl's hold. The shy, sweet girl that everyone thought they knew was no longer there. "I wish Anko had known," Naruto mused to himself. Hiyashi had given him his customary speech on how to treat my daughter the day before, but it also included a serious warning. Never, ever attempt to take Hinata's cinnamon buns from her. Hiyashi simply shivered and reiterated his warning when Naruto attempted to inquire why. Meanwhile, a terrified messenger rushed into Hiyashi's office and exclaimed, "My lord, it's a code purple." Hiyashi questioned incredulously, "Did he forget my warning already?" "No, my lord, it seems to involve Ibiki's second in command," the guard said, shaking his head. "The poor fool. For now sit back and observe. I'll not risk anyone else's health for Anko-san's mistake," Hiyashi said to the man as he quickly jotted down a note and passed it across the desk. "Seated, this is delivered to the Uzumaki residence immediately." After accepting the note, the guard bowed and left Hiyashi to reflect on the one and only time he had ever made that error. How Byakugan, a 4-year-old who had just barely woken him up, managed to put him through a wall. The thought of that day alone chilled him to the bone. Anko, meanwhile, was unfrightened by Hinata's response because she was a special Jonin and the girl was only a genin. Her eyes widened as Hinata caught the snakes, threw both captured arms into the air, and stepped inside her guard. In less than 10 seconds, Naruto witnessed a flawless performance of the 8 trigrams, 64 palms technique, the final blow sending Anko flying down the street where a group of white masked Anbu caught her and vanished. Her second mistake was saying, "Oh goody, the princess wants to play, I was just gonna take one, but after I'm done I'm taking the whole box." Snake arts. Hidden snake hands. When Naruto arrived home that afternoon, he discovered a scroll on the table addressed to him. When he opened it, he discovered 4 words on it. Now you know why. 12 hours following the duel with Neji, Uzumaki Mansion. At the Uzumaki Mansion, Kushina waited tensely for news of the arrival of Tsunade Senju, her former Jonin instructor and now a renegade Sannin. It had been reported that Jiraiya had found her and persuaded Tsunade to come back by using Makoto's recuperation. For a very straightforward reason, Tsunade had not been notified of Kushina's return. The woman and Kushina had a falling out, and Kushina wasn't going to give her the opportunity to leave before she did. The Hokage was a little hesitant when she gave her explanation, but after she did, he agreed to let Kushina do what she needed to. She had every intention of making sure Tsunade remained and fulfilled her duties, and it was helpful that Kushina and Anko had found the documents that supported what she had observed in Danzo's recollections. I suppose I could visit the training grounds to observe Naruto's reaction to yesterday's duel, but it might be better to let his friends handle that, Kushina pondered. He had been inseparable from Hinata ever since he had defeated Neji. Following their interrogation, word of the elders' plans for Neji and Hinata had spread like wildfire, and the villagers and other clans alike believed that the Hyuga clan needed a thorough house cleaning. Thankfully, Hiyashi concurred with them and had arranged with Kushina to start removing the caged bird seal from the branch family members. The issues of Hinata and Naruto getting engaged, choosing a date, and deciding who would be the heir remained. Kushina had decided that before the couple could get married, they needed to spend some time together before they were married. They would have been together for at least 2 or 3 years if she had her way. She regained her focus when an Anbu showed up at the property's entrance. The Anbu, who were accustomed to being able to surprise the people they were sent to summon to the Hokage, found it rude that the privacy seals Minato had put around their compound were still effective after all these years. They had been unhappy to hear that they would have to wait at the entrance until Kushina or Naruto allowed them entry before they could make contact with anyone within the Uzumaki compound. "They're here?" Kushina asked as she walked to the entrance where the Anbu was waiting. "They will be reaching the gates in the next 30 minutes. Accompanying Tsunade of the Sannin is her apprentice Shizune," he replied. "No surprise there, I take it she plans to head straight to the hospital?" That is what Jiraiya has informed the Hokage her plans were, but she was ordered to the Hokage tower first. The Hokage doubts she'll be in a very good mood when she gets there. She told the Anbu, "Tell the old man I'll be there in 15 minutes, and have someone contact Kakashi. I need him to have his team near the tower for a demonstration, before going back inside to retrieve her equipment." The Anbu responded, "I'll send word to HQ for Cat to get them," and then vanished. After half an hour, Hokage Tower, as the door of the Hokage's office opened to reveal a furious Tsunade and a modest-looking Shizune with a pig, Kushina waited hidden behind a barrier seal. "Damn it, old man, why in the hell did you make me come here? Whatever the hell you want, I don't give a damn. I already told the pervert that I'm helping my student and then I'm getting the hell out of this damned village, and after I deal with the bastard who did this to Makoto, and there is no way in hell you're gonna stop me," Jiraiya yelled as she jumped through the window and slammed her fist against the Hokage's desk. "Two things, Tsunade. First, I wanted to make sure you were doing okay. After all, it has been several years since I've seen you. Second, it wasn't me who wanted you to come here first. There's someone here who wanted to have a few words with you. Oh, and unfortunately you won't be dealing with anyone who had a hand in what happened to Makoto Uchiha," the Hokage calmly responded as he watched his former student grow increasingly frustrated. Tsunade was interrupted in the middle of her tirade when a black chakra chain wrapped itself around her neck, yanked her backwards, and slammed her face to the ground. "What the hell do you mean I won't be dealing with bastards who harmed her, and who in the hell wants to have a few words with me? That bastard Danzo. The 2 vultures that pose as village elders. Whoever the arrogant fuck is that thinks they need to have a few words with me can wait or just go piss off for all I." She was instantly paralyzed by the sight of the blood dripping from the tip that had sliced her face, which was now right in front of it. Jiraiya and Shizune watched in disbelief as 3 more chains materialized out of nowhere to completely restrain Tsunade after first subduing her in a matter of seconds. Since Shizune had never witnessed her master, Jiraiya, so easily defeated, she was taken aback. He was smug because he recognized those chains as he attempted to edge his way towards the open window. He discovered it closed and blocked by 2 more chakra chains. What in the hell? But Sensei told us. Oh shit, if it's who I think it is, I am going to be lucky to survive this if things get out of hand, he thought to himself when Kushina finally came out. She was still able to warn Jiraiya as she was making her way to Tsunade. If you even think about bolting out of here, I'll put you in a coma for a month, Ero Sennin. He said, it really is you, isn't it, Kushina, to the irate redhead. Kushina made her way to where her former sensei was being restrained and had her chakra drained, in the flesh. I'll get to you in a moment, but for now sensei and I need to have a little chat, she told him. Tsunade sputtered, trying to process the situation. How in the hell? But I was told. I mean, you died, Kushina, and why in the hell are you doing this to me? She said. Let's see. First off, why am I doing this to you? I can think of a few reasons. You abandoning the village after Dan died I could overlook. You ditched out on me just before I went into labor, and yes, I know about your fear of blood so that I could forgive. But damn it, you self-centered bitch, you were supposed to be here to help watch over my son. You gave me your word that if anything happened to me or Minato you would protect him. Do you have any idea what kind of hell he went through because of it? Let me tell you, it wasn't pretty, so right now I'm in half a mind to rip your head off your shoulders, but in honor of our past I'll give you a chance if you can give me one good reason why you broke your word to me and weren't there for my, so I'll spare your life. Tsunade had to force the words out. KK Kushina, is it really you? I was told, I knew you were dead, you had to be, and you know why. She said she was unable to speak due to the shock of seeing Kushina again and the sight of blood. In an attempt to push this conversation along before she lost her nerve, Kushina told her, yes Tsunade, it's really me, I'm not a ghost, and you're not dead, so quit stalling and answer me. Where the fuck were you and why did you break your vow to protect my son? But the seal, the scroll, your name went dark. How? Kushina, please tell me before I lose it, how in the hell are you even here? Tsunade then asked. Kushina grinned to herself as her Tsunade fulfilled her request. She was battling the shock, but she had a long way to go. I assume you're referring to Great Aunt Mito's family tree seal? You put it on a scroll instead of yourself, didn't you? Well, not so much of a surprise. She did tell me that feeling the loss of Uzu was the worst feeling in her life. It was on my body when I lost my brother. After that I moved it to the scroll. I couldn't bear the feeling of loss, and then the day you died. Since then I've kept it hidden away so I wouldn't be tempted to look at it again and see all that I had lost, but it showed me you were dead, and you know the seal can't lie about that, so tell me, how are you here? Tsunade inquired, still perplexed but clearly. Well, it's too bad that you didn't check that seal periodically, because if you had, well, then you'd have come back a lot sooner and with less fighting. Well, maybe not less fighting knowing you, as you would have had the one thing you've always wanted waiting here for you. Kushina murmured before continuing. Tsunade, despite what the seal told both you and Great Aunt Mito, the Uzumaki clan wasn't killed when the Third War broke out, and I didn't die the day Naruto was born. Do you remember being told about the scroll? The first was given when Konoha was founded. The one about the return of the third in line to restore Uzu? I always thought that was just a myth. A story told by Ba-chan to cope with the family she lost there, replied Suande. No, it was not a myth. Great Aunt Mito was the first, I was the second, Naruto was the third. Each of us had 2 things in common that linked us together. Can you tell me what they are? Kushina asked. After a brief pause, Tsunade answered, you're all Uzumakis, and you all bear the burden of protecting this village from its greatest threat, the Kyuubi. You mean he's the... Yes, before I left Uzu to come here, my father placed a seal on me that they had just devised. They knew the attack on Uzu was soon to come, and plan was made to use it to their advantage. All of the fighters and civilians who chose to stay and face the onslaught were given the seal as well, so that when they received what was considered a mortal blow, they were not killed. Instead, they were merely transported to a pocket dimension in stasis where time was slowed, allowing them to be saved by the doctors that were already there on standby. In this way, everyone who fought in the battle survived, including my family. Because I was given the seal as well, when the Kyuubi's blow finally made me succumb to what I thought was death, my seal activated, removing me from this dimension and returning me home. Out here 13 years passed and my son grew up alone, while within the seal only 3 months and a week passed. I was healed, and learning everything my two-san had to teach me in that time frame. In order for the plan to work, though, everyone had to believe Uzu was dead, and Iwa knew of Mito's seal. In fact, they had a spy in the village that was able to confirm that she believed everyone was dead, which is what had to happen, or else they'd never have given up. Anyone placed in that pocket dimension is as good as dead to the real world. They had to be, or it would never have worked. My seal was the lock. As long as I lived outside the dimension, the lock remained unable to open, but once I was placed inside, only someone with my blood could break the seal, and only from the outside. Naruto recently broke the seal on a mission to Wave, releasing not only me, but everyone who was waiting within the pocket dimension. Uzushiogakure has returned to the outside world, and is now preparing for the coming storm. More than that, Tsunade Senju, you once again have family in this world more than you ever knew of. Everyone present sat in silence as Kushina finally revealed the manner in which Uzu and she had survived. Tsunade started crying as she gazed at her cousin. After years of loneliness and grief, she was reunited with her family, albeit they were far away. Kushina, cousin, I never broke my word by staying away. I was doing the only thing I could to guarantee Naruto would live until he was able to protect himself. She decided to reveal the depths of darkness in the village that eventually drove her away. After regaining her composure, after my last visit to you, I had the one thing I could never regenerate stolen from me, and I was told that if I ever wanted a hope of it being returned, to stay away from Naruto at all costs, or both he and what had been taken from me would be destroyed. The Hokage felt compelled to investigate this, so he took this opportunity to intervene before he asked, Tsunade, what was taken from you? He thought, tell me he didn't, Danzo, you bastard, tell me you didn't. Slowly, my ability to have children, she answered. On the night of my last return to the village, as I left, I was attacked by a large group of Anbu with solid white masks. They knew of my weakness, and used it to render me unconscious before taking me to a base hidden outside the village where they removed the eggs from within my ovaries. Like I said, the one thing I can't regenerate. Afterwards I was told that if I tried to contact anyone about what had been done, they would destroy what they had taken. After I found out about your death, Kushina, I tried to come back, before I could even leave the capital, which is where I was. I was again met by the white-masked Anbu and warned to stay away from Naruto, or he would be slaughtered. It took me a while to find out who had done this to me, and believe me, it's high time I paid that bastard back in full. Who? Hiruzen had to ask, even though she knew who she was referring to. Kushina and Tsunade both responded simultaneously, Danzo, Danzo. Tsunade looked at her former student for a second. You knew? But how? There's no way. There's a reason you won't be able to go after who harmed Makoto. I already ripped the fucker's soul from his body, but not before I took his memories. So yes, I knew I wished it was a bad dream, but I had to confirm, Kushina said to a startled Tsunade. Tsunade maintained her composure on the outside while being enraged on the inside. You little bitch, you knew and you put me through all of this. You will pay, cousin or not. At the last thought, Tsunade's rage managed to break through the paralysis as she used her insane strength to break free of the black chains that held her bound. With a furious shout, Kushina, your ass is mine. However, before she could follow through on her threat, a large amount of gold chakra chains appeared and wrapped themselves around her, draining her chakra, as she struggled to break free. Damn it, Kushina, why the hell are you doing this to me? I swear to Kami, when I get out of this I'll beat you within an inch of you life. Well, that took a little longer than I'd hoped, but it looks like it got the job done. Welcome back, cousin. You've been gone far too long, Kushina said with a smile as she listened to Tsunade's tirade while fighting to free herself from the chains that were depleting her chakra. Tsunade kept fuming at her situation and struggle, but she stopped and directed her rage at the white-haired Sanin, who was sitting in the center of the room, laughing at her in an open manner. What the hell do you think is so funny? After giving her a brief glance, Jiraiya considered his response. There are two things to consider. First, Kushina is correct. It's nice to have you back, and second, you still don't understand what she has done for you. Give it some thought, and I'm sure you'll find it. What on earth are you trying to say about what she did for me? When I get out of these chains, she will pay for all of this, and so will all of you smiling bastards, she raged, seeing that even Shizune was grinning fearlessly. All she did was play me for a fool and humiliate me in front of all of you, she said. Hiruzen saw she still hadn't realized what was going on, unlike everyone else, and decided to try and nudge her mind in the right direction as her anger had clearly blinded her. Tsunade, those wounds must hurt a little. After all, they seem to have incapacitated you for some time. What the devil are you talking about, old man? These fucking chains only slightly damage the skin, as if a little blood would deter me from... Oh, you cunning little bitch, how long did it take you to come up with this? And then it hit her like a ton of bricks. Tsunade asked Kushina as she finally realized what her cousin had done. Before having Naruto, I had intended to do something similar, but I was unable to locate the appropriate trigger. But I finally had the ideal motivation after obtaining Danzo's memories and discovering what he had done to you. Your greatest weapon has always been your anger, which can motivate you to achieve great things. I only needed to draw on that and use it to make you overcome your own weakness. And I still had a bone to pick with you about not even using Shizune to send gifts to Naruto. Hell, she visited Konoha frequently enough for you to do that. Danzo assumed you would strictly adhere to his rules regarding you, so he never even considered you doing so. That's not her, Kushina clarified. Sanuva bitch. Okay, I admit you got me there. To defend myself, how could I possibly have known? In any case, why am I the only one who receives business from you? Tsunade thought she had the ideal way to divert Kushina's ire. Laugh at me, will you? She thought savagely at her attempted lamb sacrifice. I figure the old pervert over there has a lot more to answer for, as he's the godfather, and has spent more time writing his perverted books than he has spent around Naruto, she said with an evil grin. Unfortunately, it didn't go as smoothly as she had hoped, and Jiraiya merely scoffed at her attempts, saying, "Haim, did you ever consider that I might traverse the elemental nations in that manner for reasons other than my books?" "No, it's because I had a mission from Minato and Kushina to complete, even though I really wanted to be here with Naruto." Kushina made the decision to elaborate, saying, "Tsunade, I was attacked the day I gave birth. The person who claimed to be Madara Uchiha was aware of the Kyuubi's seal's weakness. He took my seal away, abducted me, and murdered Hiruzen's wife. Then he attacked the village with the Kyuubi. Although she was unable to kill him, Minato stopped him. Minato instructed Hiruzen to have the elderly pervert attempt to find our assailant. Once we had finished sealing the Kyuubi into Naruto, we didn't think he would fight the man, but he was supposed to use whatever information he could find to help Naruto get ready for his return. He did, however, attempt to have Naruto released into his custody so that he could leave the village and be free of his assailants, but I'll bet you can guess who thwarted all of his and Hiruzen's efforts. Danzo, is there anything that went wrong with what we planned that didn't involve that sick bastard?" Tsunade asked, looking understandingly. To put it briefly, Kushina responded succinctly, "No, well, now that the unpleasant part of this is over," she said, releasing the chains that held Tsunade and embracing the elderly woman. "Welcome home, sensei, and you're staying this time. I still intend to leave the village after taking care of Mikoto." As the office door opened to let Team 7, Tsunade remarked sadly, "I mean, it's good to find you back here, and it gives me a reason to come visit, but I just have no real reason to face my old memories of this place." "It's just right, Kaka-kun," Kushina said to the bewildered Cyclops. "I want you to meet Tsunade Senju and Jiraiya from the Sannin, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke," she informed the bewildered woman. "Tsunade, this is my son Naruto, Mikoto's son Sasuke, and the reason you will be staying here, Sakura Haruno." Before Kushina interrupted, Tsunade began, "I still don't see." "We'll get to that after we get Mikoto taken care of," said Sasuke. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's get moving," to the assembled crowd. 3 hours later, the hospital. "Easy Mikoto, take it slowly, you've had a rather rough time of things," said Mikoto Uchiha, who opened her eyes slowly and found herself in a hospital room. When she attempted to sit up, a pair of hands held her firmly but gently in place. "I'll put your bed in a sitting position after you've been out for a while," a woman's voice said firmly but gently. "Just give your eyes time to adjust." "Wait, is that you, Tsunade-sensei?" "I recognize that voice," Mikoto asked as she was finally able to see who was in the room with her. Tsunade stood beside her bed, but it was the second person in the room that drew her attention. "Wait, there's no way. But you're dead. How the devil are you here now, Kushina? And why do you appear to be ageless when you've been dead for so long?" Kushina grinned and replied, "Well, it's nice to see you too, Mikoto-chan. You gave us all quite a scare. You have yet to respond to my query. Why on earth are you here? I know I saw your body before it vanished, but you passed away 7 years ago," Mikoto informed Kushina. "Really now, I thought I'd imagined. That just goes to show you learn something new every day," Kushina said to Tsunade, but she chose to spare her friend more annoyance after observing Mikoto's expression. "Mikoto, even though it appeared that I had died on the day of the Kyuubi attack, I actually lived. Rather, I was taken from the place where I would have perished and returned to complete health." "Failsafe seal, don't tell. If I had to guess, probably before you even came to Konoha," Mikoto remarked, reflecting on her knowledge of her former teammate. "You've always been intelligent. Are you certain you're not a true Nara? Riley?" Kushina inquired. "Well, you were the muscle and I the brains, but is there someone missing from this place?" Mikoto said, searching for her missing teammate, and then her face fell when she recalled what had happened a few years prior. "Yes. She was killed by the clan elders because she objected to family members being subjected to the damned caged bird seal," Kushina told Tsunade and Mikoto. "Thanks to my time with my family, I came back with the means to remove the seal from the branch members. She was always stubborn, but that's why we loved her, but the elders responsible have been punished, and her dream has finally come true." Mikoto said sadly, she'd be pleased to know that, but then she remembered something more urgent. "My boys, what happened to them? Where are they? My piece of shit husband and Danzo were attempting to overthrow? This is going to be difficult for you, Mikoto, but here is the truth," Kushina said. refusing to hold back from telling her the truth. For the past 6 years, Danzo has kept you in stasis with the intention of using you as breeding stock to acquire more Sharingan eyes. Sasuke is actually just outside the room and is doing fine. Itachi believed that he had been coerced into accepting responsibility for the Uchiha clan massacre. Danzo would have killed Sasuke if he hadn't. Sasuke only recently discovered the truth after I killed Danzo, which is, incidentally, how we discovered you, and Itachi is still unaware of your survival. Neither of them knew you had survived. You already killed the bastard, Kushina. Damn it, I want to take a piece of him, but why in the world couldn't you have left him alive? Makoto grunted. Do you recall all the suffering Naruto endured and how the council forbade you from taking him into custody? In response, Kushina inquired. Was he there? Makoto replied. What? Yes, that was him. But so was Fugaku. Did you really think I would spare the poor son of a bitch after I found out about that? Would you go to hell? As she observed Makoto's expression harden, Kushina questioned. Not a chance in hell, was Makoto's only comment. I think it's time for Kushina and I to go, and for someone who really needs to see you to come in. Sasuke, she's awake, Tsunade said as she opened the door after glancing at her 2 former students and observing how Makoto was adjusting. While Sakura and Naruto remained in the waiting room, Kushina glanced at both teenagers and then grinned at Tsunade, saying, I do think the next issue at hand is a full medical checkup for the 2 of you. Sasuke flew into the room as Kushina and Tsunade both left, closing the door behind them to allow the family members to spend time alone. Naruto began to edge towards the door, but was stopped by a golden chakra chain and flung into the closest examination room. Tsunade gave Kushina a brief glance before proceeding to conduct the examination, leaving Sakura and Kushina alone. Sakura, I think it's time you and I had a talk, Kushina said to the pinkette as she led her to the lab for some blood work. I think it's time she got to work, Naruto said to the pinkette. After an hour, Naruto emerged from the exam room with a few more bruises than he had when he entered, as well as a healthy respect for Tsunade, who was the only woman he didn't want to piss off next to his mother. How naive he was. In the waiting room, he found a stunned Sakura sitting with Kushina. Tsunade approached and glanced at Kushina, then gestured for Sakura to follow her. Kushina watched them go to the exam room before halting Tsunade, saying, You wanted to know why Sakura was the reason you'd be staying in the village. Then pay attention to the lab report, and then why don't you skip the exam and get to know your daughter? Kushina laughed slightly at Tsunade's shocked expression, then left the stunned females alone. Sasuke finally had his mother back. Naruto was being trained to the bone by his mother, and Sakura had her entire world turned upside down when she discovered that her mother was actually one of the legendary Sannin. Tsunade's Senju. It would be an understatement to say that the past few days since the Sannin had returned to Konoha had been hectic for everyone involved with Team 7. Hiruzen Sarutobi sat in his office going over the progress reports for the Rookie 9 as they were being called, and was shaking his head in disbelief at the way things had turned out. This was the first time in the history of the village that not only had 0 civilians pass the academy, but also that the entire graduating class consisted of nothing but clan heirs. Team 10, under Asuma Sarutobi, held the heirs of the Nara, Yamanaka, and Akamichi clans. Team 8 held the heirs of the Hyuga, Aburame, and due to his older sister's resignation from the position of clan heir 2 years previously as she felt she was not the best choice, the Inuzuka clan. Team 7 though is where the real surprise was. Unknowingly, while trying to recreate the Sannin, he had placed the heir to 3 legendary clans on the same team. The heir to the Uchiha clan, Sasuke Uchiha, was the known commodity, as was Naruto Uzumaki, heir to both the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans, but the shocker was learning that Sakura Haruno, supposed daughter of councilwoman Haruno, was actually Sakura Senju, daughter of Tsunade Senju. That revelation was still enough to make his head hurt before his headache could get any worse. However, the door opened to his office unannounced to admit a smiling Naruto Uzumaki. Hey Gigi. Ka-chan sent me to get you for dinner. You might want to hurry up or she'll be after us both. She told me to tell you, and I quote, don't make me drag your ass kicking and screaming through the village in chains. He had witnessed Kushina do it to Minato in the early days of his assumption of the Hokage position, and he knew better than most that she could and would do as she threatened. He had never been able to figure out how he had avoided it after the 3rd week. Alright Naruto, you've had a long day and I have a mountain of paperwork to do, so head on home, and I'll hurry as fast as I can through this before your mother kills me, Hiruzen says weary. Naruto answers as he makes his way to the door, okay, I guess so, but hey Gigi, gotta say you really are doing things the hard way. What is the intended meaning of that? This should make for a good laugh, Hiruzen responds, not understanding how correct he was, but he would not be the one laughing. I'd have thought you'd be using shadow clones instead of doing everything yourself, Naruto remarked as he paused at the open door. Mom claimed that Dad used it to protect him from her abuse. A loud thud came from the Hokage's office, and as Naruto slipped back to the door, all he could hear was a low sobbing that soon gave way to hysterical laughter. To each their own. I suppose see you at dinner, if you survive, that is. Minato, you cunning jerk. I'm shocked you didn't tell me. It's unbelievable that I never considered that. Thank you, Kami, for finally letting me be free, resonated throughout the village. As he made his way home, Naruto suppressed a burst of laughter, eager to tell his mother that she was correct in assuming the old goat had never considered the obvious solution. Naruto grinned as he left. Training Ground 7. The next morning, for the first time in almost a week, Naruto was eager to start his training because the entire team would be together. He had hardly seen Sasuke, and that was only after the hospital sent him away for the night so his mother could rest. Sakura, on the other hand, had hardly been seen outside of her new mother's company, if only because Tsunade was afraid that if she let her go, the dream would end and she would be alone again. Naruto had gone through a week-long Fuinjutsu boot camp with Kushina, and he was able to make level 7 explosive tags, enough to destroy a large building with just one, as well as to make his own storage seals that could store an entire house if necessary. In addition, he had accidentally made significant progress in creating an elemental Rasengan. Rewind 3 days ago. Currently, it was going very well. As far as Kushina was concerned, very well. As far as Naruto was concerned, too damned well. Poor Naruto was currently dodging a series of water whips that Hinata had used to keep him at a distance, and she had also sliced most of his clothing nearly in half. Much to her secret pleasure, this spar had been limited to the use of ninjutsu in order to help Hinata improve her skills because they wanted to see how well she was adapting to using something other than clan techniques. Hey, this is meant to be a friendly spar, so go easy on the whips. As he ducked to avoid another blow, he said to her. Gosh, kid, I had no idea your friend was interested in S&M. As he told Naruto about his plan, Kurama teased his host. Looks like you've got a winner. You should have known better than to trust Kushina. Even if she did threaten to cut you off from ramen if you didn't. Besides, I think we can use this to our advantage. Listen up, Kurama added. Well, you shouldn't have threatened to steal all my cinnamon rolls if I lost, she grumbled. He screamed in defense, it was just a joke, and Ka-chan told me to do it. As Hinata glared at the elder Uzumaki, Kushina simply laughed and said, Kushina-sama, is this true? Seeing the expression in her eyes, Kushina decided it would be best to help Hinata get back on track by saying, Hinata-chan, you might want to focus on the task at hand, dear. This isn't finished, and you're only marginally exonerated for your involvement, Naruto-kun. I apologize if I went a bit too far, she said, turning around. Naruto dodged a water bullet that narrowly missed his head and returned fire with an air bullet, saying, It's fine, Hina-chan, I just figured you wanted a free view. Hinata yelled, I don't need the whips for that. Before realizing she had actually said it aloud, she then quickly performed her best tomato impression. As Kushina, Kurama, and Naruto all thought, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. Naruto used her mental diversion to approach and power up a Rasengan, but sadly, Hinata had her dojutsu active, saw him coming, and had an ace up her sleeve. Both Naruto and Hinata simultaneously used their strongest attacks, and Kushina's only response was to yell, Rasengan, Water Dragon Jutsu. What none of them expected was that they saw next. Hinata's Water Dragon getting absorbed into the Rasengan, causing it to shrink in size with what appeared to be a whirlpool in the center, but grow immensely in power. Naruto, realizing that hitting Hinata with the overcharged attack could possibly kill her, managed to turn the attack away at the last second and use a Gale Palm attack to launch the Rasengan at a house-sized boulder halfway across the field. As the attack struck, it expanded to twice the size of the boulder, lifted the boulder off the ground, drew it to the center, and then, to the shock of all present, compressed to the size of a marble, crushing the boulder to dust. As it went, all eyes turned to Naruto, who stood in shock at what he had just done, before he started shouting in excitement, Did you see that? I did it at last. Don't you mean we finally did it? Hinata cleared her throat to get his attention, and he turned. Yeah, Hina-chan, but don't you know what this means now? I just have to figure out how to do it myself, and come up with a name, he exclaimed with enthusiasm. Before her son messed up his latest move, Kushina decided to set some ground rules. First of all, congrats. You two just succeeded where Minato could never have. That being said, you must never use that on another Leaf Shinobi unless it is to protect your life or the life of a loved one. We keep this a secret from everyone but your team, so when you train with it, make sure Hinata or Kakashi are present. Having a trick up your sleeve is always desirable. Hinata said, Naru-kun, I have a suggestion for a name. Judging by the effects, why not Rosin Crush, as she approached her fiancé and kissed him on the cheek in congratulations. Nice Hina-chan, I like it, and I think I know how to remake it at least on a small scale, but I'll need your help, he told a beaming Hinata. As of right now, as the rest of Team 7 arrived and waited for Kakashi to arrive, they started exchanging stories about how the previous week had gone for each of them. That is, after they had recovered from the shock of Sakura's new look, which was a strawberry blonde that belied her relationship to the Uzumaki clan through her paternal grandmother Mito Uzumaki Senju. He and Hinata had worked tirelessly over the next few days to first recreate the attack together, then figure out how he could make it on his own. Sasuke informed them of Makoto's quick recovery and how she was helping him deal with the events involving their family. She had told him about the curse of hatred and then revealed to him the secret that only Itachi knew. That she also possessed the Mangekyou Sharingan, which she had acquired by keeping her Sharingan active for 5 days in a row, which was an extremely difficult task. She also promised to start training seriously as soon as she recovered. Sakura shared what she had learned about her true mother Tsunade, and the sordid affairs that had led to her birth as a Haruno. Danzo had bribed the former councilwoman with one of Tsunade's unfertilized eggs as a means to gain further control of the council. What he didn't tell her is where the egg had come from, so the look of fear and shock on her face when Tsunade was given access to her was something that was enough to even put a smile on Ibki's face. Danzo had conspired to use Sakura as the means to combine the bloodlines of both the Senju and Uchiha clans. As such, he had used his own personal Yamanaka to plant subliminal messages, creating the split personality that she had been cursed with in the academy. It was used as a method to separate the obvious trademarks of her Senju heritage from the personality that more closely matched her birth mother's. They had also learned that her biological father had been murdered by Root operatives while on mission, as he had begun to question Sakura's origins. Fortunately, it was not all doom and gloom, as Tsunade had begun to train her to master her monster strength as well as begin her medical training in full. Both of her teammates assured her that they had her full support going forward, and there and then they decided to become the most feared team combination since the Sanin Ino Shikacho be damned. On that day, Konoha saw the birth of the greatest team in the village's history. Uzu Senju Uchiha was born. The Hokage Tower that evening, Hiruzen was smoking a pipe while his shadow clones reviewed the most recent council proposals. He had abused the secret to defeat his greatest enemy ever since he was given it, so when he heard a knock on his office door, he quickly put the novel away and signaled his Anbu to open it. Kushina came in and noted the shadow clones. "Ah, Kushina-chan, to what do I owe the pleasure?" The Hokage smiled when she said, "Well, first, it's nice to see even the professor can learn something even now and then," but her next statement caused a completely different reaction. "That said, I'm here in an official capacity. Next month is October, and I have been ordered to inform you that there will be an official visit by the Azukage and several members of my family to celebrate the clan heir's birthday next month. That and Tu-san needs to have a long conversation with you prior to the Chunin exams in November." Hiruzen's face went pale before Kushina threw him a bone. "Although he's upset, Ka-san has been pleased with how you've managed to turn things to Naruto's advantage, so no, he won't kill you. She and I won't let him." That's enough to say that even though he's pleased with the results of my return, he still has a bone to pick with you. However, you may want to choose a successor as soon as possible. Kushina grinned as she walked away and headed back home. Hinata had dinner next, and she was excited to see what the girl had in store for them. Overall, life was going well, and her only wish was that the calm would continue, if only temporarily. As we prepare for the Chunin exams, which are a component of the invasion arc, the return arc comes to an end with this chapter naturally. The Uzumaki's visit next month should be entertaining. Omake, the APL's introduction, Anko, and Kushina were going over more of the files from Danzo's hidden office, trying to find out just how many more of the old bastard's dirty secrets were set to blow up in their faces. Thanks to their research, they had located 18 hidden bases throughout the elemental nations, 6 of Orochimaru's hidden labs, all destroyed by Anbu, and files that linked Danzo to the death of Hinata's mother and the attempted kidnapping of Hinata by Kumo. Kushina was tired, irritated, and needed to vent. Alas, with Danzo dead and his most die-hard agents either dead or in prison, she had no outlet to relive her tension. It was this scene that Tsunade Senju walked in on. Tsunade had been on a roller coaster ride for the last week. She'd learned she had a biological daughter that she'd never known, that the man who had harmed her worse than any enemy in any previous war could before was dead, and that 2 of her former students that she had thought were long dead had been returned to her. Alas, the thing that stuck in her mind the most, however, was the memory of Jiraiya's amusement when she had been reunited with Kushina. The embarrassment still ate at her, and the fact that she had been unable to get Kushina's wrath turned to the old pervert still rankled her. This could not and would not be allowed to stand. Unfortunately for her, she couldn't find a way to carry out her revenge, that is until her daughter was telling her about the antics of her Jonin-sensei in a certain little orange book. When Tsunade discovered her irate former pupil, she brought a copy of the first Icha Icha Paradise book with her. "I'm not really in the mood for any games right now, Tsunade. So I hope this is important. I promise that things get worse the more we investigate Danzo's activities. It's as if a bitch's son did everything in his power to obliterate this village," Kushina complained to her cousin, former sensei. "I'm sorry if I came across as being short with you, but I need to vent." "Well, Kushina, I can't say that I blame you for being frustrated, but you did kill the bastard instead of leaving him alive to torment," Tsunade said, observing Kushina's increasing agitation. "That's neither here nor there. Actually, Kushina, I thought I'd give you a little gift," she said. Passing the book to her, Anko had returned to the room, recognized the book from her numerous attempts to inflict pain on a certain one-eyed open pervert, and was disappointed in her idol. The smile on Tsunade's face further confused her. "Tsunade-sama, please don't tell me that you too have become a pervert. Is no one immune to that damned book? I swear to Kami, if I ever find the bastard responsible for writing that smut, I'll," she screamed. "Just wait and watch, little girl, and if you want to know a secret, the author of that book is here in Konoha as we speak," she stated to Anko. "The Konoha bathhouse, oh well, it's just time. The worst she can do is beat me," Jiraiya thought to himself as he returned to his viewing. "Oh well, it's just time," he said, looking up from his binoculars as a chill went down his spine. If only he knew. Base root. In the meantime, Kushina had taken the book from Tsunade. Yes, she knew who wrote it, and Kakashi had been very forthright about it, but she hadn't really tried to read the synopsis. As she skimmed the book, however, things seemed too familiar, and it wasn't until she reached the part where the main character proposed to the female protagonist and what happened after it was accepted that she realized the truth. She didn't need to see anything else because she had lived it, and only one person was ever supposed to know these details, and that man had died 13 years ago. She didn't know how the old pervert found out, but she would soon enough. East bathhouse, probably hidden in a tree with the chameleon jutsu. "I'll take the north. Anko, you take the south. Kushina, you get the east and first shot," Tsunade said. Looking at her new partners, she and Anko both recognized the expression in Kushina's eyes as she looked up from the book. A look that most women shared when they discovered a pervert among them. "Keep in mind that he is a cunning old pervert," Kushina remarked icily. "Oh, how well I know it, Tsunade, but that bastard went too far." "So we're going to kill perverts?" Anko smiled and asked. "No, even though I would really like to. Jiraiya is simply too difficult to kill and still has his uses. However, that doesn't mean we can't try our hardest to render him incapacitated," Tsunade stated as she laid out her strategy. After 10 minutes, Jiraiya finally had decided to give in to his survival instincts and was leaving when he saw a familiar face. Tsunade walking towards him. The look on her face was an eerie smile, and did nothing to ease the sense of foreboding that was coursing through him. Deciding that avoiding his former teammate was a smart idea, he decided to head the opposite direction, only to see a young lady he hoped never to run into again. 2 years ago he had made the mistake of peeping on young Anko while she was bathing, and found out exactly why she was second in command at the T&I department. That was not an experience he cared to relive, thus he decided to head yet another direction, this time east. That was when his instincts went haywire and Kushina appeared. Now let it not be said that Jiraiya is a coward, but when 3 of the biggest innit perverts in Konoha history all happen to be on course to where he is, it's time to run. Too bad for him, it was already too late. Before he could try and escape, a seal lit up beneath him, blocking his chakra. "Jiraiya, you don't intend to depart so quickly, do you?" Kushina asked in a way that was a bit too sweet. In an attempt to get out of his situation, Jiraiya lied and said, "Kushina-chan, what brings you here? And yes, I have to meet with the Hokage in a few minutes." "Well, I'm afraid the old man is just going to have to wait. You see, it seems you forgot my warning all those years ago," Kushina replied with a grin. "Caution? What kind of warning would that be?" With a tinge of fear, he asked. She displayed a copy of his best-selling book, which launched his career, and his all-access pass to any hidden village in the elemental nations. "Why my warning of what would happen if I ever found out that you used Mina-kun and me as inspiration for one of your books," she said. "Ah, to hell with it. Yes, I did, and I'm not ashamed of it. It was for a good cause, after all. How else was I supposed to gain access to all the places that I understand your frustration? But since it was successful, I would try it again. Do your best, then," he said defiantly to the women. Tsunade said, with pleasure. To him the screams were audible throughout the elemental nations, and perverts everywhere took pride in the fact that someone had finally dealt a blow to perverts everywhere. The man may have failed, but he tried. That day marked the start of a protracted battle against the world's perverts, with the Anti-Pervert League dealing the initial blow. After an hour of work, the three women left feeling that they had won the battle, but they were blind to the fact that the Jiraiya they had defeated had vanished in a cloud of smoke and that the real Jiraiya had fallen from the tree he had been hiding in. Thanks for that copy of Naruto's new chakra storage seal, Kakashi. Although the backlash is a bitch, it greatly increases the durability of those shadow clones. Kakashi said, "You're welcome, Master Jiraiya. You're lucky I was able to reach you in time." From his hiding spot close to the ally, the two men then fled to the Hokage's tower to warn him of the newest pervert to hit the world and to plot their retaliation. The war had only just started. 2 weeks after the duel with Neji, Training Ground 14. The past few weeks have been quite busy for the people of Konoha. First, the village pariah was revealed to be the son of the village's greatest hero, and then the mother of that hero killed a number of influential people in the village who had hurt her son. Then there was the return of two of the legendary Sannin to the village, the announcement that the Uchiha matriarch was returning, and the discovery that the daughter of councilwoman Haruno was actually the daughter of Tsunade Senju. At the same time, the newest group of genin, known as the Rookie 9, was shocked to find out that Team 7 was now abandoning them all. Minus Hinata. The fact that all three members were members of the founding three only made the other two teams decide to step up their training. Kuranai was happy to see her students' determination to succeed, and Asuma. Well, if it were just Ino who was so pushy, he would still be taking it easy. Due to all of this, each of the rookie teams pushed themselves to a much greater extent than anyone had anticipated, which resulted in today's training. Asuma's Team 10 and Kakashi's Team 7 participated in a joint exercise that simulated an escort mission gone wrong, which was a lot like Team 7's notorious mission to Wave. Ino, protect our customer as I attempt to penetrate their attack. Shoji provides me with some cover. Shikamaru yelled to his teammates as he ducked a particularly nasty fireball that a smiling Sasuke had launched. Ino was attempting to use her clan's taijutsu and poison senbon to repel Sakura, who was attacking the back of the formation from below ground, while Choji was attempting to fend off Naruto's legion of clones as each of them was ready to deliver a final blow to their adversaries. A bright flash of light appeared, and they heard Naruto yell to his team, "Now." It's safe to say that Team 10's battle did not go well because by the time their eyes cleared, each of them was up against a new foe. Shikamaru was surrounded by a platoon of shadow clones. Sakura was attacking Choji, and Ino was up against Sasuke. Although Ino is no longer as much of a fangirl as she once was, she couldn't bring herself to attempt to hurt Sasuke. Unfortunately for her, he had no qualms about knocking her out, which he did after paralyzing her with a flurry of lightning senbon. Even though Choji was the strongest player on his team, the young Senju heir defeated him after she unexpectedly attacked from below, knocking him to the ground and negating his human boulder technique. Although Shikamaru was a skilled strategist, he discovered the hard way that sometimes quantity has a quality of its own. Although his mass shadow bind was sufficient to stop the first platoon of shadow clones, the next three were able to overwhelm his control and force his withdrawal. As Team 8, Asuma, Kakashi, and Kushina emerged from the woods to evaluate the activities of both teams, the exercise came to an end with a clap. Kiba jokingly said, "Damn Dobi, I didn't know you could make that many clones," as he went up to his former trickster. "Hell dog breath, I might as well use it since I'm not going to run out of chakra anytime soon," Naruto responded with a chuckle, "but just so you know that's not even close to my max." Kiba appeared to be about to counter, but Hinata beat him to it. "There's no need to boast, Naruto-kun. I know you can make 1500 easy now, but that doesn't mean you need to brag about your advantage," she said in a somewhat stern tone, and Kushina watched her struggle to contain her smile before laughing out loud as Kiba's jaw dropped at the number of shadow clones his teammate had claimed the dead last of their class could make. After Hinata's words, the rest of the rookies, minus Team 7, all had the same expression on their faces and thought, what kind of powerhouse is he? In order to attract the genin's attention, Kushina chose to step in at this point and cleared her throat. "All right, who can tell me what Team 10 did right during the attack? Shino, go ahead." They were able to respond to the attackers right away because they had a well-defined defense strategy. They used their individual skills effectively and held them off at the beginning of the assault, Shino explained as the Junin all nodded their heads in agreement. "Good job, Shino. Where did their plan go wrong, Hinata?" After giving Kushina a brief glance as she mentally reenacted the battle and searched for Team 10's error, Hinata responded, "The flash bomb." "Correct. But why? Would Shikamaru mind explaining?" Kushina questioned the Nara mastermind. Our response was too inflexible. We forgot that we were a team because we were so focused on our individual battles for a few seconds. We were unable to see our opponents when the flash bomb went off during that time. They changed to a more advantageous formation and used the information they had learned from the first few minutes of the fight to control the outcome. But there's something I don't get. How did they know who to attack if they were focused on their own opponents? Naruto, since it was your plan, would you like to explain? Kakashi asked, turning to face his team. After considering the situation for a while, Naruto asked Ino, did any of Sakura's blows cause you any pain? Did you wonder why that was? Ino shook her head. No. What was your initial response when you were attacked, Shikamaru? When Ino said, I just thought she was going easy on her best friend, she responded quickly. Shikamaru thought, clever bastards. Naruto saw the expression on the Nara's face and chose to tell the others what had happened, saying, as you can see, Shikamaru here has figured it out. At the beginning of the battle, your Sakura and Sasuke used a genjutsu on you and Shikamaru, while I used shadow clones on Choji. We began by learning about your team's tactics and then used the flash bomb to conceal our actual attack. Information and deception are keys to any battle, Kushina observed as understanding dawned on the faces of the 5 rookies who were not under her tutelage. Gather information prior to an attack if you can, and use that information to stay alive. During times of war, we all had to learn this lesson the hard way. These abilities are still essential to your survival even though there is peace at the moment. As you are aware, this year's Chunin exams will be held in Konoha at the end of November. You were unaware that all of your teams would be taking part in the tests, so we're going to get all 9 of you in shape over the course of the next 2 months in order to get you ready for them. Put another way, children, welcome to hell. After 8 hours, Akamichi barbecue, Dobi, what the devil? As teams 8 and 10 were still recuperating from the previous day's training, Kiba questioned Naruto, is your Kasan crazy or what? Sasuke began to laugh at the other person's bad luck and gaunt appearance, saying, you should have seen her before we left Wave. If you think this is bad, I swear, I believed she was going to murder Sakura-chan and me. Hell Teme, if she had you really couldn't have said you didn't deserve it, laughed Naruto. Yes, I am aware. Sasuke responded to his rival with a joke, but even so, I thought she was going to kill us. Sakura whispered to her crush, you do realize he still has the pictures, right, Sasuke-kun? After hearing them, Naruto threw a folder on the table for the rookies to see and said, take a peek people, but remember before you try and tease my teammates too hard. She's been taking it easy on most of you so far. 5 of the 6 Genin's laughter abruptly stopped when they saw the pictures, and Shino and Kiba decided to ask Hinata about her future mother-in-law after noticing that she didn't seem to be affected by Kushina like the others. So, why are you not afraid while we are? Is it because Naruto and you are engaged? Shino questioned the heiress from Hyuga. Hinata's face flushed as the 5 pairs of eyes turned to her. Hey Shino, be careful there, Naruto said. You're talking to the only one I know that can go temper to temper with my Ka-san and win. Any fear she had is long gone. Kurama abruptly said, yeah, but I know there was a specific part of you that enjoyed watching it, which caused Naruto to spit out some of his tea in shame. Stop talking, Ero Kitsune. I don't need the peanut gallery's input. With the tension gone from the group, Ino decided it was time to ask her fellow blonde what the hell had happened to him on the Wave mission that caused such a drastic change in him. Naruto-kun, stop it, you're embarrassing me. She managed to get out, causing the rest of the rookies to burst out laughing, before they saw the same look on Naruto's face and heard him muttering about Baka Arrow foxes, which set everyone off again. Naruto, tell me how you became so damned good so quickly. Although you were extremely cunning and skilled at pulling practical jokes, you were never this way in the academy. Even Shika was impressed by Naruto's remarkable ability to plan on the spot during those pranking sprees, and Choji and Kiba were aware of how stealthy Naruto had been in the past. All of them were aware of Naruto's abilities, but they were also interested in how the blonde had changed so much. Okay, might as well get it all out there then, Naruto said after taking a sip of his tea and surveying the interested faces. My team and Hinaheim are already aware, but I suppose I'll begin at the orphanage. As most of you are aware, I resided there from the time of my birth until just before my 5th birthday. Unless the head matron was aware that the Hokage was paying a visit, it was hell of being starved, ignored, and neglected all the time. I was cast out of the orphanage and placed on the streets 6 months before my 5th birthday. I was unaware that Danzo Shimura, the former leader of Root, was to blame for this. He planned to have me disappear into his private army as his greatest weapon. Naturally, all I knew was that I was hungry, cold, and being pursued. The hunters were discovered to be Root, a few inebriated villagers, and Anbu acting on orders from the Hokage, who had finally discovered my disappearance. I was lucky enough to find a few hiding spots where they couldn't find me, but on my 5th birthday, I was discovered by a sizable mob and almost killed. Danzo's root agents found me then and took the chance to make their play at controlling me. Unfortunately for them, my Uzumaki ancestry lessened the severity of their attempts to harm me. Well, that and my fuzz butt. I warned you against calling me that. Calm down, Kurama. I'll finish the story also. I owe you money from earlier, so take care of it. Okay, I understand that your life was hell early, but just what did they do to you and how did you escape? Ino persisted in wanting more information. And how do you manage to be so happy all the time? It's just not normal. I would have gone crazy. Naruto saw the contemplative look on Ino's face and could guess what she was thinking. That's just it, Ino. I didn't. I was unable to grow, become strong, think, or access my affinities because of the seals they were able to put on me. Fortunately, the Kyuubi, or Kurama, which is his real name, managed to prevent the ones which would have bound me in servitude to Danzo as an emotionless, mindless killing machine from being placed. Since his chakra flared while he was stopping the seals, alerting Anbu to where Root had me, I suppose I owe the fluffy bastard my life. They succeeded in getting me out of there, and Danzo was unable to get close enough to me to complete the task they had begun. After that, I developed into the boisterous, brazen, and chakra uncontrollable person you knew back in the academy. However, things changed while we were in Wave. While training by myself, I got hurt and ended up falling into a river, landing close to the ruins of Uzushiogakure. Those imprisoned there, including my Ka-san, were set free by my blood. They managed to remove the seals, and add in an obscene amount of training with her. You get my current skill level. To be honest, I was too stupid to consider retaliation at that point, and by now, there was really no point, which is why I was so happy I would only be ruining my house. Shikamaru chose to ask a question that had been bothering him regarding the period of time between being ejected from the street and being apprehended, even though he could tell that there was more to the story than what was being told. So while you were on the street, how did you manage to avoid everyone who was searching for you? That should have been impossible for a 4-year-old. I agree, but you could say that it was just plain bad luck in this instance. I discovered one of my Two-san's old safe houses by chance, though I was unaware of it at the time. Ka-san was able to tell me everything, but I suppose he left a number of them around the village in case her identity as the Jinchuriki at the time was revealed. At the time, they could only be accessed by blood. I was concealed from all sensors inside by a number of intricate seals, but I wasn't apprehended until I had the guts to reveal my hiding place to the Hokage. Until Ka-san combed through my memories of the incident, I was unable to recall where I had been hiding. We have since been able to map them out and locate a number of my Two-san's misplaced tools. After observing how the other Rookie 9 members responded, Shino added his own query. How much of your development was blocked off? Naruto grinned and said, to be blunt, if I hadn't been sealed in the manner I was, Sasuke wouldn't have even been close to Rookie of the Year, and he knows it. Sasuke simply nodded his head in agreement, much to the surprise of everyone outside of Team 7, after witnessing what his blonde teammate was capable of now that he was free from his binds. After Team 7 spent the remainder of the meal explaining what had happened to each of them over the past few weeks that had caused these changes, everyone could agree that it was a good thing Danzo was dead, or else they would all want to kill him in the most brutal way possible. Eventually, everyone parted ways, with Sakura returning home to the Senju compound where Tsunade and Shizune were living, Naruto and Hinata heading to the Hyuga compound, and Sasuke returning to the Uchiha compound where his own mother was waiting. Naruto-kun, you are aware that you embarrassed me earlier, correct? As she clung to her lover's arm, Hinata asked sweetly, and Naruto heard the underlying threat to his well-being in the sweet tone. He grinned and said, now Hinaheim, you know I meant it as a compliment, but she gave him a hard punch to the arm instead. In response, she said, you said I had a temper, sounding a little defensive. Naruto grinned mischievously and said, Hinataheim, I hate to tell you this, but you do. Hinata growled slightly at him and gripped his arm tighter, I take action not possess a temper. The quick response was, 2 words, dear, code purple. Eep, Hinata said, her face flushed, and she almost passed out before Naruto saw her. That's not fair, Naru-kun, she grumbled. Overall, everything was going well, and he could only hope that it would continue. All's fair in love and war, Hin-chan, he said to her as they both laughed. The following morning, the rookies of Team 8 and Team 10 found themselves facing the daunting task of trying to avoid being found by the team of Kakashi, Haku, and Asuma. So far they had managed to do so for 2 of the required 3 hours. Now, however, the difficulty had gone up. They had been warned for each hour they remained hidden the skill level of their opponents would increase. The exercise started with the hunters limiting themselves to genin-level skills and culminating at an hour of trying to avoid the three at full strength. The combined planning of Shikamaru and Shino had proven to be invaluable, as had Hinata's experiences against Kakashi and Haku. With her input, they were able to get a solid view of their opponent's skills and plan accordingly. Asuma watched with pride as he noticed his students' plans bear fruit against their more experienced foes. The trail of Akamaru has been located. Shino informed the rookies that they should be at the field in a few minutes. Kiba questioned Hinata. What are the chances they'll bite on any of the traps? Slim to none, was her terse reply. Shino said, Shika, correct me if I'm wrong, but the object was for them to capture all of us, to the de facto authority. Yes, it is, which explains why we disperse when the fireworks begin. Shikamaru, trying to give his team a sense of what they would be up against, explained, be warned if you have Kakashi after you don't slow down and stay aware, as he has a propensity to use shadow clones. Just not as many as Naruto. If it's Haku, avoid any bodies of water she can use for her Hyoden jutsu. If it's Asuma, keep him at a distance and use cover, as he is a futon user, and loves those trench knives of his. Hinata, however, realized he was overlooking something and chose to add what could be a crucial detail. Her statement, you forgot about his summons, caught everyone's attention. With a start, Kiba said, that's right. My sister told me he has the dog summon contract. Ka-san is still pursuing me to obtain the contract for our clan to hide your scent from them. Shino picks up the weed by the big tree. It's a wolf's bane. Shikamaru commented, thanks for the heads up, Hinata-san. Everyone get ready, the ball should be dropping right about. As a string of distant explosions sounded, scatter, he said, as the rookies nodded and took off. After an hour, looks like the kids get this win, Asuma announced to Kakashi. Yes, I saw that we had the majority of them, but 2 were still needed to complete a perfect sweep. As they raised the flare to mark the conclusion of the exercise, Kakashi pondered, who knew Hinata and Ino could be so damned stealthy. Both Kunoichi were commended for their strategies, as were their teammates who had made the 3 hunters work for every capture, especially Shikamaru, who set a series of nasty traps to keep anyone pursuing him apart. A few minutes later, the 2 girls left the woods for the rally point, with Ino looking a little worse for the wear and Hinata leaving no marks on her. It appears that while Hinata had found a very well-hidden cave where she had been able to use her dojutsu in the dark environment to her advantage, Ino had a harder time losing her pursuers in a particularly nasty batch of poisonous plants. What kind of mission do you think this would have been if it had been one? Asuma questioned the assembled rookies, and what would the point of it have been? Since she had been considering it herself, Hinata was the first to respond, saying, it would probably be a scout mission gone wrong, and the objective would be to get the intel gathered back to the village while there was still time. Prepare. In case you haven't noticed, the majority of the training we've been providing you, Hinata, is focused on what to do in the event that something goes wrong. Is there anyone here who can explain why? After giving it some thought and recalling the events of the previous day, Shikamaru responded to Kakashi's question by saying, because no plan truly survives contact with an enemy, and this way we have an idea of what to do when things go wrong. Yes, and by planning for the worst now when it's calm, you'll be ready when things do go wrong, Asuma said, glancing at the rookies with a hint of pride. During my time in the 12 Guardians, I was taught an old proverb that goes, in times of peace, prepare for war. All right, that's it for today. You will now reconnect with your Junin senseis and probably carry on with missions for the remainder of the day, Kakashi ordered. Hinata, please wait a moment, I need to talk to you about something. Hokage Tower. 2 hours later, after completing their final capture Tora mission, which was necessary to complete Sasuke's punishment, Team 7 was departing the Hokage Tower. As a result, Sasuke was ecstatic because he would no longer have to endure the cruel cat's torture, and he would also no longer be responsible for paying for Naruto and Hinata's lunches after today. I'm free, Kami. As they left the tower, he yelled. What is Sasuke-san free from? As she and the other members of Team 8 arrived at the tower to receive a mission, a curious Hinata asked. Sasuke, who was brave but not foolish, jumped a little when he heard the question, but after recognizing who it was, he chose to respond tactfully, having already witnessed Hinata's temper and not intending to infuriate her. We just completed our last capture Tora mission in record time, so we are exempt from doing that mission for the next 3 months. I should be a Chunin and free of that damned beast by then, though it is the last day according to our terms. Don't worry, Hinata-san, you still get lunch today. Hinata grinned and said, good, because I want my cinnamon rolls today, and I would hate to be disappointed, before she and her team went inside. The sweet tone of her voice made both Naruto and Sasuke shudder a little in terror, and then Sasuke turned to face his opponent and said, Kami save you if you ever make her mad, Dobi. Tell me about it, Teme. She can be the sweetest girl in the world most of the time, but if someone hits her trigger she can scare even Kurama. Kit, isn't that the damned fact? You've been allowing her to spend too much time with Kushina, in my opinion, Kurama informed his host. Now we have to deal with a lavender-haired demon and a red-haired psycho. As they made their way to meet with Tsunade, who was leading their chakra exercise training, Naruto told his team, Fuzzball agrees with Yateme, which made them laugh. Back with Team 8, Kiba and Shino wanted to know why Hinata had been made to stay behind with Kakashi after their previous training, but Kurenai had told them they would find out after the mission, which, ironically, was to capture Tora. Kiba complained for a few minutes until Shino reminded him that they had one of the only two people in the village that Tora would voluntarily come to, which was Hinata. This reminder made Kiba feel much better, and he practically jumped for joy, shouting about how easy the mission would be. Little did he know that the object of their search was nearby, and he took great offense at Kiba's actions unknowingly. Kiba had enraged the one creature he should never have, and over the next 7 hours, Tora led Team 8 through the village, the training grounds, and finally the Forest of Death before letting Hinata catch him. As the group was slowly making their way to the Hokage Tower to finally finish what Shino had dubbed the mission from hell, the topic of discussion shifted to what had happened with Hinata after the group training session ended. To their dismay, everyone except Hinata had several new scars, but Kiba had the most, as he even had a group of scars on his forehead that oddly resembled the kanji for Tora. When will Hinata-chan finally explain to us why Kakashi-sensei needed to see you? Kiba asked with genuine curiosity. Shino added, I would like to know as well, Hinata-sama, as he was also curious as to whether it would have an impact on the team in the long run. Anyo guys, it was nothing major, it's just that Kakashi-sensei wanted to pass along an offer to me, Hinata stated to her teammates. Well, Hinata, don't leave us in suspense. What was the offer? Nobody noticed that Tora in particular was listening intently to the conversation, but Kiba pressed for more details. As casually as possible, Hinata informed her team, well, Kakashi-sensei was asked by the Dog Summon clan to pass along the offer to sign their summoning contract. Although she was flattered by the offer, she felt that it wasn't the right thing for her to do for some reason. On the other hand, Kiba was practically ecstatic, if only because he still had feelings for Hinata and hoped that if she signed the contract, it would make them closer. He knew it was unlikely, but everyone can dream, right? You're going to sign it, right? Given that it's a summoning contract, do you realize how uncommon such an offer is? Hinata smiled and said to Kiba, I'm actually thinking about declining. I mean, I'm flattered they'd want me to be their summoner, but I don't think it's the right fit for me. I don't want to drive rift between Naruto-kun and myself. She was aware of his crush, but she didn't feel the same way about him as he did about her, and she also saw that every time Kiba tried to pursue her into signing the contract, Tora grew more and more irate, until he reached out and grabbed Hinata's shoulders to get her to turn to him. He almost yelled at her, what are you thinking, you've got to sign it, but was stopped by a sharp pain in his wrist and a loud, irate voice. The team heard the words, I think the woman has told you no, so I advise you to take your hands off of her before I take them from your body. Team 8 turned to look for the person who had spoken, but instead they saw Tora leap off Hinata's shoulder. What shocked them the most was that, before landing, he transformed from a big house cat into a white and black striped tiger so big that he had to stoop to look at Kiba, who was quickly backing away from this formidable threat. Hinata-sama, I have been tasked with observing you and evaluating your value for the past few months. The Tiger Summon clan has determined that you are deserving of taking over your mother's position as our summoner. You were hesitant to sign the Dog Summon contract because of this. Naturally, you have the freedom to accept or reject our offer, so the decision is entirely up to you. Please let me know tomorrow night at the top of the Hokage monument if you decide to accept. To say that they all had a lot to think about was a slight understatement. Until then, I bid you farewell, Tora told her before vanishing in a cloud of smoke, and another white house cat with a red ribbon on its ear appeared on Hinata's shoulder. Tora gave the group a knowing look as they attempted to process what had just happened. Tower of Hokage. When Kiba made the decision to speak up about the new information regarding the mission's outcome and the decision Hinata was given, Kurenai had completed receiving a briefing on the mission's aftermath. Kurenai-sensei, you agree with me, right? Hinata has to take the Dog Summons contract Kakashi offered, right? I mean, that would be better than some dumb tiger contract for a tracking team. Just think of how much more effective we'd be on our missions with Akamaru and a Dog Summon working together. As Shino added, Kiba, that's not necessarily a good thing. In fact, that might be counterproductive. Kurenai gave it some thought. Kurenai wanted to know what the team strategist thought, so he asked, what do you mean, Shino? How would it be counterproductive? In particular, they appeared to reflect her own. She reasoned that now would be a good time to test their planning skills. Why? Well, Kiba, As Kurenai-sensei said, we are a primarily tracking team, but given our makeup we are lacking a key component. Defense, Shino stated to his fellow players. Think about this, from what we've seen of Kakashi's summons they are not very large, nor are they very battle-oriented, more useful as support. The tiger summons as on the other hand appear to be more adaptable. Case in point, who would ever suspect that Tora was one of them, or that they turn out to be that large? We also don't know how powerful the summons themselves are. With them as summons our team becomes less of a single mission type team, and becomes a more well-rounded team able to take on a variety of different mission types. For example, if we are sent to track a spy or a missing nin, we would have the capability to engage on more offensive terms, with the tigers playing the role of heavy hitter or of primary defense. If the mission goes completely wrong, this would improve our chances of survival as well as open our team to different missions that we would otherwise be unable to perform, Shino explained as he pushed his glasses back into position on his face. Kurenai watched in speculation, Kiba watched in disbelief, and Hinata just chuckled to herself. Dude, I think that's the most I've ever heard you say ever, Kiba said to his teammate. A rather irate growl from Hinata's shoulder prompted Kiba to begin, but still I think she needs to take the dog summons instead of the stupid tigers. In an attempt to calm the quickly enraged tiger in disguise, Hinata told Tora, he didn't mean it, he's just speaking stupidly without thinking. Hinata's tone was slightly too sweet to ignore as she asked, isn't that right, Kiba? Kiba stammered, right, Hinata-chan, remembering at last that the now clearly irate Tora was still on Hinata's shoulder. Kurenai laughed as she led her team away, saying, okay, let's go to the Hokage's office and turn this mission in before Kiba's mouth gets him in more trouble than he can handle. Later that afternoon, Uzumaki, Namikaze training ground. Once Hinata's team was free for the day, she discovered Naruto at his family's training facility. She was overjoyed because she had finally decided what to do with the summoning contracts that were presented to her. Her father, ironically, had made up her mind for her based on his expression when he learned that his former tormentors had returned. Flashback. Hyuga compound an hour ago saying, Father, I'm home. Hinata greeted Hiyashi as she entered his office. Hiyashi sat down on the couch and asked, Hinata, how has your day been going? Overall not bad, but something happened today that I need to ask you about. It involves Mother and her skills as a shinobi, Hinata said. Hiyashi asked, well, that's a very unusual request. May I ask what has happened? Wondering why she would want to know her mother's abilities. Well, I was given a pair of offers that I need to consider, and to do that I need to know how my mother was as it relates to her, Hinata replied to him. Okay. I guess it's harmless enough. Your mother was a very talented warrior, one that very few could match. Her skill with Suiden Jutsu made her an anomaly in the clan, and the fact that she had modified her gentle fist style to match that made her someone to be feared on the battlefield. Iwa and Kumo had her labeled the flowing tsunami in the bingo books with an S ranking, very rare as a Hyuga ever ranked so high, and from what I've seen of your skills you have the same potential, especially since with the more volatile members of the council gone we can start training you in your mother's style, aptly named the flowing fist. Does that help with your decision? Hiyashi took a sip of tea. Hinata was intrigued because Hiyashi had not brought up the use of summons. Father, my question wasn't regarding her skills in gentle fist, but in another branch. Tell me, Father, did she have any other skills that set her apart? Hinata asked. Hiyashi began, thinking to himself, well, there was one other thing, but they couldn't have come near her so quickly. Surely before they contacted her, her mother was 3 years older. May I ask what the offers were before I tell you? Hiyashi said, apprehensive about the result. Honestly, I have had a confusing day as I received a pair of offers today. Both the Dog Summons clan and from the Tiger Summons clan want me to be their summoner, but the strange thing is the Tiger clan claimed that Mother was their last summoner. Is that true? Hinata pondered for a moment how to phrase it correctly before deciding to follow Naruto's example and be direct. Hiyashi shuddered as he recalled the ordeal the Tigers had put him through to prove his suitability for Hinata's mother's marriage. Hi, it's true, he said. Hinata saw the shudder, but before she could ask him more, Hiyashi explained that although they had married when they were young, the Tiger clan had put him through 3 months of progressively harder tests to make sure he was a suitable match for their summoner. The last is a one-on-one fight against the summons of Khan the boss. The Tiger boss respected him despite the fact that he was destroyed in that match because of his perseverance and willingness to keep getting up to be with her mother. Hiyashi reached into the desk and took out an old scroll, saying, Hinata-chan, if the Tigers have really offered to make you their summoner, then do it. As a matter of fact, I believe that your mother foresaw this as she made sure to have me keep this safe for you. If you take them up on their offer, just wipe a small amount of blood onto this scroll inside as the contract for the Tiger clan. Whatever you choose, I know your mother would approve as much as I do. Thank you, Father, I know what choice I will make, she said. her eyes welling with tears. The end of the flashback at the pond on their property. Hinata discovered Naruto training with Kushina. She excitedly told Naruto about the summoning offers. Kushina listened to the conversation and decided that now was the to share some information with Naruto. Hinata, that's great news, I'm sure you'll do the Tiger Clan proud. Naruto, since the issue of summoning has been brought up, I think it's time you learned a few things about your heritage. As you know, Minato was able to summon the Toad Clan, same with his old teacher Jiraiya Kurama made me able to summon the Kitsune Clan, and I'm pretty sure he plans to do the same for you. But the big thing is even with the Kitsune summoning you'll still be able to make one more contract as they are labeled as a divine summoning. Jiraiya will offer to let you sign the Toad contract, but you might get an even better chance if what my dad plans goes through when he gets here. Yeah, it's a good thing she remembered about the Kitsune contract kit, but it'll be a little while before I let you sign it. You're close to being strong enough, but I want to make sure you at least make it to the third round of the Chunin exams before I let you sign it. As for the Uzumaki, well, I'll tell you this, kid, if they offer to let you sign the one I'm thinking of, you had better take it, Kurama stated with no nonsense. Naruto told his tenant, not so loud fuzzbutt, you don't have to yell at me, you know, as he shook his head in agony. Kushina asked her son, let me assume he told you to sign the thing already? Actually, he said he wouldn't let me sign the Kitsune contract until I made it to the third round of the Chunin exams, but he demanded that I sign the Uzumaki one if they offer the one he's thinking of. No clue what it is though, Naruto responded when his ears finally began to cease ringing. Unfortunately, he failed to notice Kushina's shocked expression, but Hinata did. She said, Kushina-san, is something the matter, to Kushina? Kushina responded, no, well, it's just that I can't believe Kurama thinks they'd offer that contract to Naruto, while attempting to ascertain the implications for Naruto. The future they were preparing for is far worse than I expected if they offer him that contract. Naruto demanded, okay, cut the crap, what contract are you talking about? Kushina grinned and told him, oh, you'll see if you live that long, that is. Deciding to keep that information to herself for a little while longer, she saw an eagle flying in her direction. As she laughed at her son's perplexed expression, she thought to herself, oh shush tea, they're already here. Suddenly, from the village gate, there was a loud shout. Hiruzen Sarutobi, get your sorry ass down here before I have to come up there and drag you out. As Naruto registered the shout, he questioned, what in the hell was that? That Naru-kun was your grandfather and it sounds like he's pissed. Kushina grimaced in response. Come on kids, let's get going, we'd better get out there before something bad happens. And cut Omake, initial thoughts uncertain of what he would discover, Zabuza headed to the place Kushina had given him, only to be encircled by a group of Uzumaki Anbu as he reached the waterfall leading to the bridge. As she drew his katana, the leader said to Zabuza, that's far enough, Mizu Nin. Go any further and it'll be the last thing you ever do. Little girl, you were 1,000 years too early to be challenging the likes of me, Zabuza, who never backs down from a challenge, said sarcastically. Is that difficult? She said, who do you think you are? As he took the Karikibibocho from behind him and assumed his own stance, Zabuza observed her posture and said, I would say you wouldn't be much of one, little girl, but since you asked, the name is Zabuza Momochi, demon of the hidden mist. You are, too? As she attempted to attack, the Anbu leader responded, the Kunoichi who's about to beat you into the ground. However, before she could do so, 2 chakra chains pierced the ground, snatching both fighters and hurling them to the ground. Zabuza went pale when he saw Kushina appear next to him, and the Anbu leader recoiled when she recognized Kushina. Kushina yelled at him, damn it Zabuza, I told you no fighting, as he recoiled from her. Hey, they started it, not me. How in the hell are you even here? I just did what you told me to do. I assumed you and your child had returned to Leaf Village. What? Zabuza asked. Oh, the boss did. I'm just a shadow clone who was sent to save your ass. Speaking of Minami Uzumaki, Kushina told the now shocked Anbu leader, put that damned katana away before I hurt you, young lady. Kushina, how on earth did you recognize me? The now known Minami inquired. Who the devil is going to forget the person they gave one of their old blades to? Well, let's see, I can sense your chakra and recognize your voice. Minami was reprimanded by the clone, damn girl, you may be my cousin, but you are dense as hell. In addition, I know you're good, but I hate to tell you that he's better than you with the blade. I take it you're familiar with the executioner's blade? Good, then you know he's a member of the 7 swordsmen, so what does that tell you? Oh, and Zabuza, before you go getting a big head, remember I may just be a clone but I can still wipe the floor with you, the clone said, prompting Minami to shake her head. I apologize to Kushina senpai, but instinct took over when I noticed the headband, Minami said. Go ahead and escort this bozo to his father. I sent him here to speak with him, don't let it happen again. Oh, and Zabuza, please act appropriately or I may hurt you the next time I see you. When the clone was dispelled, Zabuza's response was, "Hi Kushina Sano, and tell the original she'd better take care of Haku. Does she do that a lot?" he questioned Minami. Overall, it was the start of a lovely friendship. "You have no idea," Minami deadpanned as she started to tell him tales of the notorious Red Hot Habanero's early years. "Pardon me? How exactly did you call me, sweetheart?" As 4 chakra chains materialized behind her, Natsumi Uzumaki asked in a tone that was dangerously sweet. In an attempt to calm his wife, Hiroko said, Sorry sweetie, but seriously, what was that for? There's no doubt about where Kushi-chan got her temper from. That woman could scare the Shinigami himself. You want to play Mr. Temper with the Hokage, so excuse me if I don't want to start a war. In addition, Kushi-chan has given him a few months to perspire. It would be more enjoyable for us if we let him worry about the other shoe dropping." Telling his wife, "You, Natsumi Uzumaki, are a very evil woman," Hiroko grinned. "Yes, but don't you still love me, my love?" she answered far too politely for his taste. "Of course dear, wouldn't have you any other way," Hiroko said, instantly going into husband survival mode upon hearing a trick question. With a smug smile on her face, she replied, "That's what I thought." Knowing she had won another minor conflict, several Anbu simultaneously emerged in front of the group, all of them in defensive positions. The leader moved forward to speak to the group of people surrounding Uzumaki. "Azukage-sama, we have been informed of your pending arrival and as such have arranged for lodging for your guards at the Uzumaki Namikaze residence. If your group will follow Bor, I will take you and your wife to Training Ground 66 where the Hokage, your daughter, and your grandson await you." Natsumi told her still furiated husband, "See dear, Kushi-chan had everything ready for us. Saru-chan isn't trying to hide from you like you thought." She then turned to face the Anbu and spoke to their own special forces, saying, "Tide, stand down and follow the rest of the group to the mansion." "Yes ma'am," replied 3 warriors who had been stationed to take out Anbu if they had posed a threat. The Tide code leader Kraken and the cat-masked Anbu were the only 2 individuals outside of the Azukage and his wife to notice 4 additional white-masked shinobi disengaging. "They're under new management and your daughter has been working with them. You and the Hokage have much to discuss," Kat said, glancing at the Azukage before the question was even posed. "That explains it. Very well Anbu-san, please lead the way." Training Ground 66 concurrently. When they got there, Naruto asked, "Okay mom, just what have you gotten me into this time?" The Hokage was already there. Kushina's response was cryptic. "You'll see. By the way, I hope you brought your game. You'll need it. I see you received the message, Hokage-sama." "Kushi-chan, I think the entire village got the message. Your father has never been one for subtlety. That was always your mother's forte." Kushina grinned and said, "Nah, mom can be blunt too. She just shows more caution when not dealing with family." Then she recalled the last batch of paperwork that had been processed about Danzo's activities, and she frowned. "Besides Dad and I have a lot to discuss when he gets here," Kushina said. The old Hokage tried to calm her down by telling her, "Kushina, it's not your fault what he did, and I promise I will help however I can to repair the damage he's done. I just hope Hiroko accepts the proof that Danzo acted on his own without the village being involved," the Hokage said. "I have all the evidence I require, so you let me take care of that. However, I believe you will want to retire soon, so I hope you have a successor in mind. Don't remind me, but regardless of their desire, I have decided that one of my 2 remaining students will succeed me. It's just a matter of one of those 2 stubborn fools accept the job." As he said this, he noticed 3 presences enter the training ground. However, he noticed they were not surrounding him but rather surrounding Naruto. A quick look at Kushina told him that not only had she sensed them, but she had been expecting something like this. A glance at Naruto told him that the boy had sensed the intruders, and was gearing up for a fight. He didn't have to wait long as one of the hidden shinobi leapt out at Naruto, katana bared and aiming to take the young man's head off. Naruto reacted quickly, drawing a kunai and channeling wind chakra through the blade, not only blocking the attacking blade but severing it into 2 pieces. This caused the first attacker to quickly fall back, but the second hidden shinobi took over where the first left off by firing a long-ranged great fireball jutsu at Naruto. Naruto noticed the incoming jutsu and countered with a water bullet, cancelling out the incoming attack. He didn't see the third attacker yet, so remained on guard, and lucky for him that he did as the ground in front of him opened up with the third shinobi taking a shot at him with a kirigami while at the same time attempting to place something on him. Naruto quietly thanked Kushina for the many hours of brutal training in how the Uzumaki clan fought. It was only thanks to that training that he realized the third attacker was trying to place an unknown seal on him, and that could only be a bad thing as far as he was concerned. Fortunately, a seal-less shadow clone and a quick substitution bought him the breathing room that he needed. As the seal hit the clone, it dispelled, and Naruto learned that the seal was a lightning-based paralysis seal, and was thankful he had not been hit by it. By now he noticed that he was the only one being attacked and was starting to get a little frustrated. Instead of staying on the defensive, he went on the offensive, first making a dozen shadow clones with instructions to face his attackers 4-on-1. As they engaged in close range with wind-enhanced blades, he fired long-ranged attacks to harry the enemy, but as he had finally caught on who they likely were, he made sure not to fire anything too dangerous at them. It was after a 10 minutes battle of attrition where Naruto was only able to hold off the attackers, not beat them, that a voice finally rang out. "Tide, withdraw." The now identified Tide shinobi withdrew to the shadows. Hiroko and Natsumi had observed the battle, noting that Naruto refrained from attempting to incapacitate his attackers and that their own warriors were pushing him as far as they could without seriously hurting him. Overall, it was a good way to gauge the boy's skill and his level of observation. They were happy to see that his ninjutsu and taijutsu skill set had increased, but they also saw that he was not using fuinjutsu during his spontaneous spar. This would need to be addressed. Hiroko would have rated his grandson as a B-ranked threat, bordering on a ranked, but he also knew that he hadn't seen the full skill set because Naruto had been holding back as it was. He felt that Naruto was nearly ready for two of the gifts they had brought him, but business came first, so he focused on Sarutobi. Hiroko said to his former colleague, "Now Sarutobi, you look like you've seen a ghost, but you didn't seem too surprised by Naru-chan's little evaluation." Hiruzen replied, remembering his former sensei, "I had a feeling that either you or Kushina would set something like this up. Hashirama told me how you tested him the first time he came to meet Mito," with a faint smile. With a questioning expression on his face, the Azukage responded to the unspoken question, "Yes, well, I had to see if the boy was getting a proper education now that the crap that bastard Danzo put on him has been removed. If you had been involved, Kushina would have destroyed you as she has done with Danzo, so as far as that's concerned, you're in the clear, but as far as letting Danzo stick around causing the trouble he did, you and I are going to have a lengthy conversation." The Azukage said, "I had hoped that the Kami no Shinobi would have held that bastard more tightly for now. Let's move on to the small talk that is for later. Nice to see you awake at last, Naruto, my boy." When Naruto finally met his grandfather, he said, "Thanks Gigi, Mom already told me how much work the clan had to put in to remove Danzo Tomi's seals." After noticing her mother's subtle nod, Kushina decided to continue the conversation by saying, "Okay, this has been an interesting afternoon, but I believe we have some family bonding to do. And Naru-chan here has a slew of relatives to meet, so ya-ne old man. If everyone is okay with it, we'll get together tomorrow." The Hokage looked up and saw that he was alone at the training ground. He grinned to himself that he had survived the first meeting and walked cheerfully back to his office.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.